Hey, howdy, hey, everybody. I was fully anticipating that when I streamed this weekend, if I streamed this weekend, it would be with a much less optimistic attitude because I was expecting that I would have finished the Toy Story 1 video in time for the anniversary yesterday, but that, as per usual, copyright would have screwed me over and prevented me from actually being able to release it for you all to watch. But miraculously, that didn't happen. I got exceedingly lucky this time around. So, I was able to finish it in time for the anniversary, and everyone was able to watch it on the anniversary. So that makes me feel very, very happy inside, knowing that I managed to get everything. There was two major anniversaries that I wanted to hit this year for releases: the 15th anniversary of Toy Story 3 and the 30th anniversary of the original Toy Story, and I managed to hit them both. And yeah, now I'm good to chill for the rest of the year for the most part. I'm good to finally attempt to. I don't unwind very well. I don't relax very well if I'm not always actively working toward some kind of project. I don't feel well productive, obviously, but I do not feel satisfied with my day if I don't make progress towards something. But we're gonna try to unwind, and that starts with finally finishing. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to do an update before we can actually wait, can I just never mind, we're just gonna ignore it. You know what, fuck the update. We don't need updates. Where we're going, we don't need updates. We're just gonna play. I've never actually done that before. I've never actually ignored the update prompt. I've always just been like, yeah, I guess we gotta do an update. Fine. How was my yesterday for Toy Story 30th? It was nice. It was nice. I woke up, made sure everything was in order, made sure the Toy Story video was cleared for release, and then I watched Toy Story. Once it was released and people could watch it, I just sat back and actually watched the original Toy Story. And then I spent most of the day playing Halo Infinite with Gugonic. So, yeah, yesterday was one of those just do nothing and relax and talk days, which I really needed because I've been 100% committed to editing nonstop for the last few weeks. So, it felt nice. 6709 Starbits, how did I get all of that? I grinded between streams because the last time I played Super Mario Galaxy 2, my final Starbit count at the end of the game, after collecting all the green stars, was 6,421, which was about 3,578 Starbits short of reaching the required 9999 Starbits. So, had I collected 3,578 more than I had, I would have been across the finish line. So what I decided is, operating under the, obviously the numbers aren't going to be exact, but operating under the assumption that by the end of this playthrough that I'm doing right now, I will reach a similar Starbit count to what I had last time. I decided that between streams, I would grind the exact amount that I would have needed last time to push me over the edge and get to 9999. So I had 3,131 Starbits at the end of the last stream, so I grinded for an additional 3,578, which pushed us to the total of 6,709. Now, it's very unlikely that we will finish this with having exactly 9999 Starbits, but the idea, because you may think, why not just grind straight to 9999? The reason is because we're still going to be collecting Starbits today as we naturally go through the remaining galaxies and get all the green stars. So I don't see the point in grinding all the way there. Like, it would just be a waste of time to get all the way there because we're still going to be collecting Starbits today. So my goal is just to get as close. The goal is to eliminate the need to grind today, because grinding is boring to watch and boring to do. So, not that the green stars are that much more stimulating, but you get the idea. There's at least more to it than just replaying the same level 20 billion times to get all the Starbits you need. I also clocked how many times I died when grinding, and so that when we get the final death count, we will be able to see exactly how much of that was dedicated to grinding. I'm at World 6 for that. That would be because I was grinding in Melty Monster, because the spot to grind in Galaxy 2 is Melty Monster Galaxy. So that would be why I was in World 6 at the start of the stream. That's on Zootopia 2. I don't know, I haven't seen it. I don't even think it doesn't not come out until like Wednesday or Thursday. There we go. Or Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday. I think Wednesday's the official release day, so it's probably, you can probably watch it starting Tuesday. But I haven't seen it. It's because it's not out. When was the last time I watched Zootopia 1? When making my D23 video, because I hadn't seen the film in a long time. So I wanted to rewatch it to reacquaint myself with the movie, so how I was, because there's two ways when you're searching for relevant visuals to use in your videos. There's two ways you can go about doing it. You can either scrub through the movies just in Vegas, searching for something that fits what you're going for, or you can, like doing all the work in real time, trying to figure out what visuals to use. Or you can do it all ahead of time, and like as you're watching a movie, you can make notes as you go along, like knowing what words in your script you need to match visuals to. You can preemptively have a list of everything you need to fill in, and then make notes as to certain bits of animation or lines from the movie in question that would line up with what you're saying. And that's what I did for Zootopia 2, because I hadn't seen Zootopia in a long time, so I just got a bunch of different options for myself by watching it again, and then put those to good use when making the D23 video. That soon? Yep, Zootopia 2 is coming a lot faster than you may think. My goal was to have the Toy Story 1 letter fully in my rearview mirror, so that, because next, Zootopia 2 is not the only major thing that's happening this week. Stranger Things Season 5 also comes out on Wednesday, which I'm closing in on the end of my rewatch of the series. I've rewatched episodes 5 and 6 of Season 4 last night, so I'm closing in on the end game, and Season 4 really is so good. It's especially, like it's still nowhere near as good as Season 1, because Season 1 is one of the best seasons of television that I've ever seen in my life. But it feels like it's a lot better than it is, because when you come off the heels of Season 3, which is one of the most abominable things I've ever seen in my life, it's like, oh my god, the quality of Whiplash is insane. Yeah, I'm excited. I am as excited to watch Season 5 as I am nervous about watching Season 5, because there's still a part of me that's apprehensive about the possibility that they may not be able to stick the landing. Not even based on any rational concerns, because it's not like they've... Really, the only two times they've majorly screwed up are the bottle spin-off backdoor pilot failed backdoor pilot episode that was The Lost Sister in Season 2, and then the entirety of Season 3 was a absolute failure nightmare that never should have existed. But Season 4 was quite strong, so I have no reason, logically speaking, rationally speaking, to believe they would be unable to bring it home at the finish line. And they've said previously that if they can't make the ending, the actual proper, like, final 30 minutes of the show great, then they may as well not even make the rest of it, which is good. That's what you should believe. You should put that much stock and weight into the ending of your show or your story, because if you don't, if the ending sucks, then who cares? If you can go through the most incredible journey in the world, but if it all amounts to absolutely nothing, or worse, something that invalidates or cheapens or nullifies all that came before, then you may as well not even bother with the rest of it. So, I have reason to believe that they will stick the landing. It's just, you can't help but be a little nervous when a show you've been invested in for almost a decade is finally coming to a close. Is Stranger Things Season 3 as bad as I remember? No. It's worse. It's much worse, actually. In a previous stream on Galaxy 2, I talked about the conversation, the argument between Jonathan and Nancy, where they both have perfectly valid concerns and points to make about their situation at work. And the show could have done something interesting, basically being that Nancy felt like she was being unfairly treated by the misogynistic, one-dimensional cardboard cutout people working at the Hawkins Post. And so she felt disrespected and therefore wasn't too concerned about being fired, because it's like, well, fuck those guys anyway. Whereas Jonathan was saying, look, you grew up in a very privileged position, in a very, very fancy, nice house. I didn't. I've grown up in poverty my whole life. We've struggled to make ends meet. These jobs, I'm thinking about the future, taking care of my brother, my family, me. I'm that, so like, one from a position of misogynistic bias, and the other from a position of financial struggle. And you could do something interesting with this, like two characters having valid positions that clash together. The show doesn't do that. Instead, it says that Jonathan is completely wrong and was horrible forever arguing with Nancy, and she was right about everything the whole time. But what I said in a previous stream was they may have Nancy apologize to Jonathan. I don't remember. I need to rewatch it. I have rewatched it, and they do have her start to apologize. But then the show turns around and says like, no, I was wrong to argue with you the whole time. And then Nancy's like, all right, as long as we agree that I will never be wrong again. Or, no, I think the exact line is, as long as you agree to never question my judgment again. It's like, okay. Who fucking wrote this? I hate season 3 so much. It's so bad. At least it gets more tolerable as it goes along. Like, the final few episodes are actually pretty, well, no, okay. The final episode is mostly solid in the sense that it is watchable. It's still plagued with hilariously bad writing. But it's at least, like, you can have fun watching it, and the final 30 minutes are legitimately really good. It's a surprisingly poignant end to an otherwise dreadfully awful season. But most of it is borderline unwatchable. I cannot fucking stand season 3 of Stranger Things. And I'm hoping that we never sink to the pits that low ever again. The green screen got you concerned for a bit. You totally forgot what happens when you collect green stars. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's not a totally invalid concern, because that is, if the stream was breaking, that is what it would look like. It would, that is actually the exact shade of green that it would appear. I've seen that shade of green in Vegas before. In fact, towards the end of me working on the Owl House video, for those who don't know, the Owl House video production was a nightmare. Not just because of all the copyright hell, but because I essentially had to rebuild the entire project from the ground up because the original project was corrupted. And then even the second project file that I built eventually became corrupted, but in a different way, to where most of the clips I was using, all I saw was just green. I couldn't actually see, like, the audio worked fine, and when I rendered it, it still showed up as the full clip and not just a green screen. But while I was editing, I had no way of knowing if what I was putting in the video was actually lining up with what I was saying. So I just got used to, like, guessing based on the audio what was happening visually, and then using that to try to sync everything up. So I got quite used to editing with purely green footage for quite a while there. But thankfully, that project is, well, okay, I don't want to say thankfully it's behind me, because it was, in spite of all the hell that it took to create it, it was a very creatively satisfying, I don't know if it's the most creatively satisfying thing. It was the most creatively satisfying thing I had done up to that point. Now it's got really close competition with Toy Story 3. I don't know which of those would take that title, but yeah, it was just a nightmare, is all you need to know. How did the same writers of season 1, 2, and 4 write season 3? To tell you the honest truth, I think that Netflix was just up their ass about getting another season out the door, and they rushed. That's that, and also, like, because if you didn't know, Stranger Things was never originally intended to be a long-running series. It was conceived as a standalone thing, with the door cracked open for more, but it wasn't like they didn't have a 5-season arc mapped out from the beginning, and if they tell you otherwise, they're lying to you, because there's no fucking way. So that was how that went down, And because of, so, like, no one expected Stranger Things to take off the way that it did. Not even the people who made it. And even, like, David Harbour, I think, has gone on record saying, like, he signed on to the project and he was really excited about what they were making. He said, man, I think this is going to be really good. I'm really liking what these guys are doing. And then one of his friends was like, oh, no, dude, those are the Duffer Brothers. You're fucked. They make nothing but terrible things constantly. And so then that kind of sullied his spirits moving forward. But then, of course, the show came out and turned out to be a monster smash hit success. And then, obviously, Daddy Netflix was like, uh-oh, gotta get a billion more seasons. And, of course, the Duffer Brothers didn't have a plan, because why would they when they expected, no one expected this to be, successful at all, but certainly not successful to the extent that it was. And so, because they didn't have a plan, Season 2, while Season 2 is very good, it is also very much derivative of Season 1. It follows a very similar plot structure. And it kind of gives the impression that they didn't know what they wanted to do next after Season 1. And so they were just kind of biding their time until they came up with something better. And then they ran into the same problem again with Season 3. But because the Duffer Brothers are so reactive with how they write things, Season 2 was criticized a lot for being too derivative of Season 1. And so Season 3, because they still didn't have a plan, they were like, oh, you guys thought it was too derivative? Alright, well, let's go the polar opposite direction and make it as unrecognizably different from Season 1 as possible, in that it's all vibrant colors and fun summer antics, and no one takes anything seriously, and they're farting in each other's faces, and it's just embarrassing high school teen drama. I dump your ass and just shoot me now. So I think really most of it, because like Season 4 is clearly the season where they actually sat down and said, okay, let's figure out what we want the show to be and what direction we want the narrative to take moving forward, and what is the ending that we are building up to, essentially. That is clearly what happened with Season 4. And so I really just don't think they had any kind of a substantive plan up until that point. However, I will say, I discovered something else in a recent interview that they did, where they said that they were surprised when they got onto the set for Season 3 and they realized, they saw how much older all the kids had gotten between seasons. Because the age jump between Seasons 3 and 4, and also between Seasons 4 and 5, isn't that extreme, at least visually. So like they don't look or sound that different between Seasons 3, 4, and 5. But, or even between Seasons 1 and 2. The big jump, like our voices dropped and we're clearly older now season, was going from Seasons 2 to 3. And so what they saw, and they were like, oh shit, these guys are older than we realized they were going to be. And they said that they realized they'd been writing the characters too young. And I can't prove this, but I suspect that what might have happened is that upon discovering that the kids were older now, or like seeing how much older because they knew, of course, intellectually they had aged between seasons, because that's how time works. I more just mean like seeing how much older they looked compared to how they were the last time they saw them. And I suspect that what might have happened is, upon seeing that, they rewrote a lot of the early parts of Season 3 to cater it more towards, because they specifically used the phrase, we were writing them too young. And what my brain immediately thinks of when I hear that was that they were like, oh shit, maybe we should be doing older teen stuff, like they're in relationships and they're making out too much and they're breaking up with each other, and the dad wants to fucking kill Mike because he's insane. And, like, that's the shit that they did instead. I don't know. To be honest with you, I can't really explain what happened with Season 3. I have theories, I have speculations for what might have happened, but I truthfully can't actually give you a proper reasoning for why it turned out the way that it did, because I just don't know. It's insane how much worse it is than everything else the show has come out with. Like, even the thing with the Lost Sister episode in Season 2 is that while it is a painfully boring slog to watch, as its own thing, it's not, like, abhorrent. It's not one of the worst episodes of television ever. It's just that it has that reputation because of where it's placed in Season 2. because episode 6 ends with a pretty major cliffhanger for what's happening with the main plot and Will and at Hawkins' lab. And then, because pacing is really hard, episode 7 completely abandons that plot. Well, it completely pivots away from that plot line for an entire episode, and we spend all of episode 7 diddling around with 11 and the other number character, whose name and number I don't even remember. I think 8, I believe, is the name of the titular lost sister. We spend a whole episode fucking around with those assholes, and it takes like an hour to actually get back to the, like, if you jump from episode 6 to 8 and don't watch 7, you will miss nothing in terms of the wider plot. It will feel like no time has passed at all, because it's that inconsequential to the story of season 2. So it just, it's where it's paced, how it's paced and where it's placed has a lot more to do with the reputation it has, more so than it being some unwatchably bad piece of television. Unlike season 3, which is just god-awful. I actually got that horrible star without dying. Yeah, it's not as hard to get as people say. It's like, if you just jump off the corner, you'll pretty much fall right onto it. But even if you don't, you can use Mario's homing stomp. Like, let me show you what I mean. Here. If you just do that works for stars as well. So you can use that to home in on the green star if you think you're slightly off. Well, it's the recent Culture podcast in the Innit. Hope you liked it, because that was a fun thing to record. Had a good time talking with those folks. I was actually kind of nervous that I wouldn't. So I believe it's been a while since I've actually. Well, I haven't listened to the podcast because I don't tend to listen to things that I'm in. Like, it's once I it's the same thing with my own videos. Once I release a video, I really never, well, I don't want to say never think about it again, but I never have any, I don't go back and watch it for any reason. The only time I'll do that is if I'm using it as a point of comparison. So, like, for instance, when I made my D23 video last year, before I wrote the script for the video, I said, okay, I should probably go rewatch the first Toy Story 5 video I made, so that I don't repeat myself. Like, if any points I make there, I want to make sure I don't retread the same ground that I already tread previously. So, I'll do that if I want to make sure I'm not repeating myself. But, like, beyond that, I have no reason to return to stuff that I make, because it's just, like, I can rewatch and re-listen to myself as many times as I need to while I'm editing a video, but as soon as it's done and released and out in the world, I never want to watch it again. I'm so sick of looking at it and thinking about it. I don't like watching my own stuff, and I especially don't like watching my own stuff in the vicinity of other people. So, and the same applies to things that I am a part of. I just don't really like listening back to myself or watching myself at all. So, I have not heard that conversation since I first recorded it with them, but I am pretty sure at some point, I don't know if this made the final cut, but at some point I made a mention of how I had plans to celebrate Toy Story's 30th anniversary on the anniversary. So I'm really happy that I actually managed to do that, because it would have been extremely awkward if I teased that and then nothing actually came of it. I'm just glad it all worked. And by the way, there is still a chance that Disney could come for the video. There is still a chance that at any point in the next couple days they could be like, actually, this video belongs to us now, sorry. But for the time being, it's up. So, we will take whatever victories we can get. And if I have to deal with copyright a little bit later, we will deal with copyright a little bit later. But we're good for the time being. Thoughts on Wicked for Good? I haven't seen Wicked for Good, and I won't until next month. If I see it at all, it will be because FG wants to go see it with me, which is the same thing that happened last year with the first Wicked, where I never ever would have watched that if she didn't say. Basically, I said, "Hey, you're in town for a bit. What movie do you want to watch? We can go see whatever you want." And she said, "Wicked," and I said, "Fuck." because I really did not want to go see that movie, but I actually ended up liking it a lot more than I was expecting. It's still not, so I've not thought about it really at all since, well, I mean, I've listened to Defying Gravity a bunch, and I've seen an animatic replacing, like, an animatic setting the song of Defying Gravity to Ida and Lilith from the Owl House, which was great. But I've not rewatched the movie since last year. It's not really one of my favorite things. So, the only reason I would see Wicked for Good is if she wants to go see it with me when she's back in town next month. There was Stranger Things animated. Yeah. The Duffer Brothers have been teasing it as a Stranger Things spin-off for a while now. Like, for at least 3 years. And they've recently revealed what that spin-off is actually going to be. And it is an animated TV series set in between seasons 2 and 3. Basically just exploring additional adventures with the core group of kids. I almost called them the Losers Club, but that's it. That's not... There really isn't a name. I guess the party. The party would be what you call them. Exploring additional adventures with the party. The core group of kids. Mike, Dustin, Lucas, Will, Eleven, and Max. Which that is, if you're going to do additional stuff with the characters, that is the time period in which you would do it. Because it's the time period when when the group is nice and happy and together before everything goes to shit in Season 3 and then everyone ends up splitting apart in Season 4. Which I am looking forward to in Season 5, seeing everyone back together again. Because great as Season 4 is, and like one of the things I really appreciate about Season 4 is how just massive everything feels. It's a massive globe-spanning adventure with essentially 4 different blockbuster movies all mashed into one. But I do miss the more grounded, small-scale stakes of Season 1, where everything was rooted entirely in Hawkins, and everyone was together. I think they've said that Season 5 is going back to Season 1 in a lot of... Which, I mean, that is kind of what you should do for a series finale, is come full circle back to where everything began. So they're kind of returning back to the same groups of you have the kids storyline, the teen storyline, and the adult storyline, and then everything comes together in the end. That's kind of what I'm expecting out of Season 5. What's the backstory of how I guest starred in the Vulture Culture podcast? They asked me and I said yes. Big congrats on the Toy Story Love Letter video. Thank you very much. It is a massive... Oddly enough, it doesn't feel... I don't feel quite as relieved as I did for the last two. Like, with getting the final part of Toy Story 3 out and getting the Owl House video out, those were like massive moments of, oh, thank God I can breathe again. I guess just because each of those projects took a year of my, like, literally a year of my life went into making both the Owl House video and the Toy Story 3 series. No exaggeration. I started working on the Owl House video in April of 2024, and it came out in April of 2024. Sorry, I started working on it April 2023, and it came out April 2024. And then Toy Story 3 was very much the same thing. I started April of 2024, and then it came out... It started coming out in June of 2025, and then it didn't finish until July of 2025. So, a significant portion of my life was dedicated to putting those projects together, whereas the Toy Story 1 video was about 2.5 months in total. And even that's a bit of an exaggeration, because I didn't start working on it until after the D23 video, which was mid to late September. So, but I mean, by that point, I'd already had an outline down for what I wanted the video to look like. So, it's... I guess 2.5 months is still pretty accurate, but my point is that it was a much quicker turnaround, so it didn't... The relief I feel in getting a project done is proportional to how big it is and how much time it took to create it. But because this was a quicker turnaround, it's like, I'm glad it's out, I'm glad I hit the anniversary, but I didn't feel that same, like, massive exhale that I have for previous projects. If that makes sense. But I appreciate the congratulations, because I'm still very happy that people got to watch it on the anniversary. It would have really, really sucked ass if I had to wait. Because, you know, the cope that I was telling myself was, hey, I mean, people have waited 2.5 months, so what's another 7 days? And that is true. Like, it wouldn't have been the end of the world if I didn't manage to get it out right on the anniversary. It really wouldn't have been the end of the world. But I still wanted to. I still wanted to have it out on the anniversary, because it's a pretty big deal. I mean, Pixar didn't seem to think so, because the only thing they did yesterday was just post tweets quoting the movie all day long. That's literally all they did, was just have whoever was running the Twitter account every 10 minutes would just post a different quote from the movie, and it's like, if I was in charge of Pixar's social media team, I would have made the 30th anniversary of the movie that burst the studio the biggest deal in the entire world. New exclusive interviews with cast and crew, filmmaker roundtables, possibly never-before-seen behind-the-scenes content. I would be pulling out all the stops to make it the biggest thing that has ever happened in the studio's history. But they just seem to not care, and it's kind of annoying. I don't know. I expected more, I guess. I thought they would, at the very fucking least, wait to drop the teaser trailer until the 30th anniversary. Well, I guess that would have been even worse, because that teaser trailer was fucking nothing. But I don't know. I would have imagined they would do more to celebrate the occasion than what they actually did. And I was disappointed and surprised that they didn't. Uh-oh, can I? Okay, I thought I might have come a little short there. Do I think It 2017 was scary or nah? I'd say there are scary parts to it. The opening scene of It 2017 is legit great. That is a fantastic suspense sequence of Georgie and Pennywise in the sewers. That is top tier horror stuff right there. The rest of it, it has its tense moments, it has its creepy atmospheric moments, but I guess I need to rewatch it actually, because I haven't seen It 2017 since 2019, before It Chapter 2 came out. I should probably give it a rewatch to see how I feel about how I would feel about it today, because I might be conflating, because what I've seen It Chapter 2 much more recently than I've seen It Chapter 1, and It Chapter 2 is kind of awful, and it's basically just all of the bad things about Chapter 1 and none of the good things. It's essentially a parody of itself, and I kind of hate it. But I also remember it, like, one of the main things I remember is it being really overly reliant on cheap jump scares, which really wasn't the case, or at least I didn't remember it being the case in the original. But I'm wondering, like, how, because I want to say that It Chapter 1 relies on cheap jump scares, not as much, but still to a certain extent. But I really would need to watch it again to have a more definitive assessment on that. But I liked it when I first saw it in high school, and I think I'd probably like it if I saw it again today, but I don't know for sure. Do I think they'll ever release Toy Story 2 again? I really hope that they do a marathon next year before Toy Story 5 comes out, because they've done it for the last two Toy Story movies. That is what they have done. For Toy Story 3, they did the 3D re-release double feature in November of 2009, which was really awesome. And then for Toy Story 4, they did the massive all-day marathon where they showed all 4 Toy Story movies in one day. I would hope that they do something like that again next year for Toy Story 5, but to be honest with you, I'm kind of starting to doubt if they will. Disney isn't great at making competent decisions, so I'm skeptical of the notion that they would be willing to do something like that. I don't know why they wouldn't. They'd literally just be throwing money away. How much could it realistically cost them to put Toy Story 1, 2, 3, and I guess 4 back in theaters again? What do they serve to lose by putting it back in theaters? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. Can't wait for the Toy Story 2 love letter. That is another, so the order in which I've made my Toy Story videos is kind of all over the place. Like, I started with Toy Story 4, and then I went backwards to 3, and then I jumped to 1, and now 2 is the last one that I haven't covered. But I guess in a certain way it kind of makes sense. Like, I certainly didn't deliberately plan it this way. This wasn't like I didn't have this mapped on a star chart from the beginning. But from a certain point of view, it kind of makes sense, because you started with Toy Story 4, which was the whole reason I even did any of this to begin with. And then we went to the polar opposite example, which is, well, this is my least favorite, and now we're going to do my favorite. And that was kind of the intent of the Toy Story 3 series, was essentially mirroring the format of Toy Story 4, just in the opposite direction, for something that I wholeheartedly appreciate. And then this just worked out timing-wise that Toy Story 3 celebrated its 15th anniversary on the same day, or in the same year that Toy Story 3 celebrated its 15th anniversary the same year that Toy Story 1 is celebrating its 30th anniversary. So I went to Toy Story 1 next. And then after that, the only thing that's left to do is Toy Story 2. But I think it kind of works because it seems like Toy Story 2 is the fan favorite among people. I mean, it goes between 2 and 3 as far as which one people like more. But it seems like the Toy Story 2 has a slight edge. Well, I guess maybe not in my community. I don't know, I feel like it changes every other day. Like, whenever those polls get done on my Discord server as to whether people like Toy Story 2 or 3 more, it's always almost a perfect 50-50 split. But I guess the point I'm getting at is there is a sort of reasoning as to why one may save Toy Story 2 for last, even though I certainly didn't plan it this way. But I also don't know if that's what I'm going to do next, because, like I said, it's going to come down to the poll that I'll put up probably sometime this week as to whether people want to see a love letter next, or if they want to see a throwback to the old days of a much more heated critical video. Which, I'm honestly not sure which one's going to win, because I'm reading comments, it seems like some people are advocating for me to go take a break from Toy Story to do Ralph Breaks the Internet, just to kind of mix things up and pace out the Toy Story stuff a little bit more. Some people are really itching to get to Toy Story 2 next, and then there's always people advocating for Lightyear, so yeah, I don't and then when I did someone did a poll on my server last night asking which of the things I made this year was their favorite, and Toy Story 3 won by a considerable margin, which I really wasn't expecting, because usually people just prefer hearing me talk about how terrible something is. I thought D23 was going to be, because numbers-wise, the D23 video performed far better than the Toy Story 3 series did, although I guess that might have something to do with the fact that it was covering a recent topic, that being, of course, the D23 announcements, which had just come out. So, you know, that, and also Toy Story 5 is on the horizon, so it's going to attract a lot more eyes. But I would have expected D23 to win that poll, and it didn't, which was, I mean, it's a pleasant surprise, because that is the thing I'm most proud of that I've made this year, is the Toy Story 3 series. Much of a hellish process as it was to create it, I'm very happy with how it all turned out in the end. Speaking of hellish processes, let's have some fun with the spring mushroom. Trying to get this green star. Alright, that actually wasn't as bad as I thought. You're one of the few whose Toy Story 1 is your favorite. I guess, I mean, it's definitely, it's the one that pops up least frequently in terms of discussing which is the best of the series, but it definitely does have a very dedicated group of people that loves it the most. And as I said on my Toy Story 3 series, it is not hard for me to understand why one would pick any of the 3 movies in the trilogy as being their favorite. Fuck the spring mushroom, all my homies hate the spring mushroom. Yeah. It's, you don't really need to use it in this game, for the most part. I think that is the one part I think that it is actually required to do. Or, I mean, it might be technically possible to do it without the spring mushroom, but it can be more trouble than it's worth for the average person. So, for all intents and purposes, I'll call that the one part where it's technically mandatory. But for the most part, you don't need to use the Spring Mushroom, unlike the first game, I'm pretty sure. Do I have a favorite Toy Story deleted scene? Nah, not really. I don't really... I mean, it can be fun to check out deleted scenes out of curiosity's sake, but most of the time when something gets deleted, it's for good... Well, okay, I can't say... There are definitely times where things get deleted and you ask yourself why the fuck you would delete this. Especially when you look at some of the other stuff that didn't... Like, Sonic 3 is a great example of scenes that got cut that definitely shouldn't have gotten cut. And then you look at some other stuff in the movie and you're like, you know, maybe we could have cut this instead. If you were really looking to save some time. But I'd argue more often than not, if something ends up on the cutting room floor, there's probably a reason why. There's a reason why they decided that even if the scene itself is good in isolation, there's a reason why, for the purposes of pacing or flow or something else, that it didn't end up making the finished cut. Like, another recent example is in Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. There's a more stupendously death-defying stunt that Tom Cruise performs, where he's hanging off of the red biplane by one hand. Like, he loses his grasp on the plane, and the plane inverts fully, and then he's holding on by one hand. And they use that shot in a lot of the marketing material and the posters and stuff, but in the finished movie it doesn't actually happen. And it's like, why would you cut? You may think, why would you cut this? One, you risked your life to get this. Two, it's awesome. But truthfully, you don't need it, because it slows down the pacing of the final aerial chase, and it's unnecessarily clogging up the movie. Now, I wish that logic had been applied to other things in Final Reckoning as far as unnecessarily clogging up the movie. But that is kind of what I mean when I say, just because something may be good in isolation doesn't necessarily mean it would be to the benefit of the story as a whole to keep it. So I don't really have an answer as far as favorite. Well, I guess the original ending of Toy Story 4, if that counts. I guess that's my favorite deleted scene from a Toy Story movie. How about love letter to the Super Mario Galaxy games? So, I don't know if I do that, but something I have considered, I have a massive spreadsheet of video ideas that I want to make one of these days, and one of those ideas, and there's different categories, like things that I know my audience will like, things that my audience may not like, but I don't care because I just want to do it. That would fall under the category of just a selfish project, a Galaxy-themed video. But if I were to make one, what I would probably do is I would make a video kind of comparing Galaxy 1 and 2 to determine which one is better. Because it's a subject of pretty heated debates. Like, a lot of people really, really strongly, fiercely believe that Galaxy 1 is a far, far better game. Which, I am not one of those people, but I think it could be an interesting discussion, kind of, because they both have their own strengths and weaknesses, so I think it could make for an interesting discussion, but it's, also not really something that my audience, I think, would be largely interested in. I considered doing that for other games as well, like comparing Resident Evil 7 to 8, or for movies, comparing Home Alone 1 to Home Alone 2. Because I really struggle with the Home Alone movies a lot, because 2 is probably the one that I enjoy watching more, but it's also, 1 is clearly a much more tightly written movie. So those kinds of things I've considered doing, but if I were to list you all the examples of videos that I want to make someday, we'll be here all day. It'll never stop. I've always got something that I want to do, and there's just never enough time to do it all. Favorite song from all of Hazbin Hotel Seasons 1 and 2. Right now, it's Hear My Hope, and it's not even close. If it was possible, if digital play buttons had durability, I would have already broken mine for Hear My Hope. I've listened to it both listened to it and just watched it in full, in the full final musical number. I've watched, I don't even know what the number would be, but it would be embarrassing. I want to say somewhere like around 100, probably, times I've listened to it. I honestly don't know, but like, I adore Hear My Hope. It is such a beautiful, beautiful final number for season 2. Like, harmonically speaking, I think it might be the most beautiful thing the show's ever done. Easy was another one that I almost broke the replay button listening to again and again and again. But, I mean, there's a lot of songs from Hazbin Hotel that would apply to, because the music is just so consistently phenomenal. How am I doing? I'm doing very well. Just chilling with all of you, chatting about stuff, playing a game that I love. Still reveling in the fact that I actually managed to get the Toy Story 1 love letter out on time. Really think it's gonna be better right about now. It's unbelievable knowing that Stranger Things 5 is coming in just 3 days. Yeah, it's crazy that the ending is almost upon us. Because like I said, I've been following the series for almost 10 years. I just can't believe how far this show has come and how much everything has changed since its release. But I'm just hoping they can stick the landing. And I'm hoping that they can stick the landing. I'm also hoping that I can get tickets to the theatrical showing of the finale, because they said they're going to put the series finale in movie theaters. Because I imagine tickets for that are going to sell like hotcakes. As soon as they go on sale, they'll be gone in an instant. So I'm going to try to get tickets, but I'm not holding my breath, because I know it's going to be a massively popular event. But we'll see. You hope Danny Dubad returns in Season 3. I fucking love Danny Dubad!
Charlie? Who is this Charlie? Danny Dubad does not listen to her friends.
Which is funny, because neither was Charlie in that episode. God, that is probably the funniest episode in the whole series. I had such a blast watching that. And I love the end of Speedrun to Redemption, where Charlie was just like, looks so fucking proud of herself, and Angel just is dead inside. I hate you. Speedrun from here to redemption! I hate you. I love that they kept that in the album release, too. Because there's sometimes where musical numbers that feature dialogue, they'll keep the dialogue in the album release, and you're like, but did we need... I don't know that we needed to keep this in the... I feel like we could have cut this out of the proper soundtrack release. But I'm glad they didn't for that, because that is like the final punchline of the song. I'm very glad that they did not remove that. I was unsure whether or not they were going to. Thoughts on the Mario Galaxy trailer? Haven't seen it. Don't really care. To be perfectly blunt with you, I do not care about the upcoming Mario Galaxy movie. At all. I'm glad that's happening just because it's probably the only reason we even got this re-release on Switch in the first place. But as far as the movie itself, I don't care. I'll probably end up seeing it, but I'm certainly not holding my breath. I'm not dreading it, I'm not excited for it, it's just, it's whatever. If I watch the trailer, it will only be because it played in front of something else. Like, I'm expecting both the Toy Story 5 trailer and the Mario Galaxy movie trailer, and also the Hoppers trailer. I'm expecting all of those to play in front of Zootopia 2 this week, and that will be when I watch the Hoppers trailer for the first time, and also when I watch the Mario Galaxy trailer for the first time. What are my hopes and expectations for Hazbin Hotel Season 3? My expectations are that I don't want to go too in depth because I don't want to go spoiler. The big thing is just there needs to be less Vox. That's all there is to it. So I had some suspicions as to why Season 2 was written the way that it was, like just knowing kind of behind the scenes stuff and speculating on why it might have ended up the way that it did. And I recently watched an interview with Vivian Madrano, which kind of confirmed all the speculations that I had. And knowing that, it makes me optimistic that season 3 is going to be the one where it finally zeroes in on what I'm hoping the show will excel with. The most spoiler-free way I can describe it is that because they didn't know, like, I suspected that a lot of season 2's writing issues could be chalked up to not knowing what the future of the show was going to look like and just trying to put all the eggs in the basket at once. And only once season 3 was confirmed were they more confident in the show's future, and then would then be more able to yeah, I don't know how to say this without spoiling things. Season 2, I think I ran right past the green star at some point. Oh, well. Let's die and hope the checkpoint takes me back. Season 2 in a lot of ways feels like an extension of season 1. And so the original plot line, there was a cliffhanger at the end of season 1, which clearly seems to indicate that certain things will happen in season 2, and then they just don't. And then season 2 ends with almost the exact same cliffhanger that season 1 had. And what I suspected happened is that because of an uncertain future for the show, they ended up just having, like, they had to make a choice for whether they would commit to a story in season 2 that they weren't sure they were going to be able to see through to completion, or if they were going to try to extend season 1 a little bit and kind of explore the natural consequences of that, and make it so that season 2 would also be able to act as a sort of secondary finale to season 1. And all of that's basically exactly what Vivian Madrano said in the interview that I watched with Collider Ladies Night. And, like, okay, now this all makes perfect sense to me. So I'm just hoping that season 3 can finally deliver on a lot of the things that we're expecting to see. I'm hoping, because the biggest thing with season 2 is that it's just too Vox-centric. I'm so sick of that goddamn TV. He hogs the screen the whole season, and it comes at the expense of the development of other characters in the show. So what I'm hoping, the big thing that I want to see out of season 3 is less Vox. We don't need to get rid of him entirely. We just need to dramatically cut back the extent to which he is in the show, so that we can give main characters like Charlie and Vaggie and Angel and Husk more meaningful development. And it seems to me like, based on the way season 2 ends, it seems to me like they are going to be committing to that for the future, like actually giving these main characters that we care a lot about, more stuff to do. Because the way that season 2 ends, like, logically, Angel at least has to be a major player in season 3, which is naturally going to impact Husk as well. I imagine Lucifer is another character who really got fucked over in season 2. They did nothing with him in season 2. So I'm hoping he gets more to do in season 3, which I imagine he's going to have to because of what happens with Charlie at the end of season 2. So that's me. Also, I'm excited to see Alistair kind of step into his own based on how season 2 ends. I've never been more excited to see what they do with Alistair as a character than I am having just watched season 2. And again, I'm trying to remain spoiler-free because I know there's at least a couple people in chat who are planning on watching it but have not seen it yet. And I'm hoping to get more of you to watch it if you haven't already seen it, because I love the show with all my heart, and more people deserve to see it to experience its greatness. Watch Hazbin Hotel. The pilot's available for free on YouTube. And that's you really only need to watch the pilot to get an indication of whether or not you're going to like the show as a whole. Is there a green star I'm dreading to get? The real F already answered this for me, but I will reiterate his answer, or his or her answer. Sorry, I don't actually know. Battle Belt green stars. I'm not looking forward to having to deal with Battle Belt. As a galaxy, it's fine, but doing the green stars and having to replay the same small planets and re-kill the same enemies over and over and over and over again. Not a fan. Not my thing. Don't like. 0. I thumbs down. Big thumbs down. There needs to be more Vox. Vox's best character. I know why people like Vox a lot, and yeah, he is a really great character in season 2, but I'm just too much. Like, if the episodes were longer or if they had more episodes, the amount of screen time Vox got wouldn't be a problem. But the problem is that we see so much of him that we don't get to see much of the other characters. And I'm hoping that Season 3 is going to rectify that because of the behind-the-scenes stuff that I learned for why Season 2 ended up the way that it did. That's kind of what I'm clinging to. And I'm just happy that I'm finally a fan of an animated show that has a bright future and not something that gets fucked over by corporate executives like the Owl House. I'm tired of being fans of, because there's been sort of a lingering jealousy I've experienced for people of other fandoms who feel like it feels like they have it off way better than I do. Like if you're a Marvel fan, well, I guess maybe not recently because everything's kind of gone to shit, but for a while there, you were getting pretty consistently good to great stuff at a really regular basis. But the stuff that I am really passionate about, let's go through the list. Ace Attorney has been, as far as getting new stuff, has been dead in the water for a while. It's mainly just re-releases of old games, which is a good thing as far as making them more accessible for people and allowing them to actually play these games that previously were really hard to experience. But, you know, as far as new stuff, it's been quite a while since we've... Oh, dear God. Well, that's a miss. Since we've got anything new. Halo, don't even get me started on what the absolute torture that Microsoft has put Halo through over the last decade and a half. Toy Story, but obviously is not that frequently updated, and when it is updated, what do we get? We get Toy Story 4, and we get Lightyear, and now we get Toy Story 5, and oh boy, I can't wait to see what happens with that. And then, of course, the Owl House, which was canceled after... The decision to cancel it was made by Disney before the first season was even done, and it was a decision they went on to regret because they were fucking idiots. So it just feels nice to be a fan of something that has 4 seasons already confirmed, and I feel like a 5th season is a foregone conclusion at this point. It's just a formality that has yet to be greenlit because of how consistently well received the show is and how positively, like, it still is topping the charts on Amazon right now. Every week that the new episodes drop, it always tops the charts. Oh, not even just in the US, but around the world. So Hazbin Hotel is an incredibly popular show, and I do not foresee it losing that popularity anytime soon. So it feels nice to not have to stress about, oh, is the show going to get canceled after a season, or is it actually going to be able to see it through to completion? And I'm just glad that I'm a fan of something that's finally in good hands. I mean, it could be better. I wish Amazon would give them more episodes per season. Sorry, excuse me. Or longer episodes. But I am kind of optimistic about the possibility that they're going to keep slowly pushing the boundaries a little bit further with that. Because season 1, I discovered through watching another interview with Vivian Madrano, was hard capped. Each episode had to be exactly 22 minutes, not a minute over, which I imagine is hell for a writer to have to be that meticulous with your scripts to make sure it doesn't go over the line ever for any reason. And obviously is going to hamper your storytelling abilities. And honestly, considering that was what they were working with, Season 1 is kind of remarkable. It's kind of remarkable that Season 1 is as good as it is, given the restraints that the writers were under at the time that they were making it. But then Season 2 came out and the episodes are longer. They aren't hard capped. They're still around half an hour long, but there's variation. They're as long as they need to be to tell the story they need to. They aren't hard capped at 22 minutes. And the final episode is 40 minutes long. So what that tells me is that Amazon may be testing the waters as far as how long they can make the episodes. So hopefully we'll get consistently longer episodes. Now that the show has proven its ability, because Season 1 you can be like, oh, one-hit wonder, maybe they got lucky, whatever. But now that Season 2's come out and it's still demolishing records, I feel like that's got a signal to Amazon, like, oh, maybe people really like the show. Maybe we should consider investing even more resources into this. But I guess we'll see. Do I have any interest in playing the new SpongeBob 3D platformer? Yes, I do, because Purple Lamp, I feel like is treating the IP with a lot of respect, and even though I have problems with both Rehydrated and Cosmic Shake, they're still the most fun I've had with a SpongeBob 3D platformer since the early 2000s, so I am interested in checking it out. I've heard people say that it's the best platformer that they've made, that has come out of SpongeBob since Battle for Bikini Bottom, which is pretty high praise. So I am definitely interested in checking it out. And now that I am over the hurdle of Toy Story, I actually have time to check it out. I'll actually have time to play it. That'll be fun. You didn't find Battle Belt's green stars that bad since they're all about just jumping above the container holding the pipe. Well, it's not that they're hard to get, it's that they're tedious. Because, I mean, all the green stars are technically tedious to a certain extent because you have to replace sections of the levels again and again and again. But they're especially annoying in Battle Belt because of how tedious it is to have to kill the same enemies over and over and over and over again. That's mainly where the tedium. It's not because the stars themselves are in any way challenging or annoying to get. It's just the oh shit. We're good. We're fine. It's just the process of getting to them each time that can be frustrating. Okay, so this, speaking, it's funny, I was gonna say that there are examples of stars, like individual stars in this game that are way more convoluted and annoying to get, and perfect timing to mention that because this is absolutely one of them. This is kind of a pain in the ass because you have to make it all the way really late into the level with all 3 of your clouds in order to get this, which means you can't get hit even, I mean, you can get hit on this planet because you can go back and get another cloud flower, but once you leave this planet, if you get hit even once, it's over. It is run over, game over, try again, better luck next time. Which is why I'm doing it first, because if I screw up and I get hit, then I'm not completely out of luck. I can go back and try to get a different green star. But if it's the last one you do and you screw up, then there's no safety net to fall back on. You have to get this on the first try. So we're gonna take this piece by piece, nice and slow. Because you can't, not only can you not get hit, but you can't use your spin jump to buy yourself any extra time. Or any extra air time or any wiggle room or anything like that. And then we have to deal with the lava here. And also you can't skate. You can't skate on the ice. Okay, I think I screwed it. I don't think I can make it now. Oh, maybe I can. Oh, I can. Okay, there we go. Nice. We actually made it. Thought that was going to take a lot longer than it did. You take it, Season 2 is good, but has glaring issues. I'd say Season 2 is a distinct and inarguable improvement over the original, over Season 1. However, it also arguably has lower lows than Season 1, as far as, it's, the big issue with Season 1 is a very tight story, but it goes too fast. There isn't enough time to properly develop everything, so some of it feels a little rushed. Whereas the problem with Season 2 is not, like, it's not rushed. What it develops is really well fleshed out. The problem is just that I don't like what it chooses to flesh out. It's too heavily focused on Vox. We needed more stuff with all the main characters get shafted to a certain extent. They get stuff, but what they get, there's just not, like, one of my favorite episodes of Season 2 is Episode 6, and the reason is because it has nothing at all to do with the main plotline with Vox. Vox is barely in the episode, and it's focused entirely on the core hotel cast, and kind of how they're all coping with the circumstances. I want more episodes like that. I want more bottle episodes. I guess that's not really a bottle episode. Well, it is from a certain perspective. But in the conventional sense of the term bottle episode, it's not that. But I want more episodes focused on the core hotel cast and not Vox and his stupid. It's basically like one of the big problems with Season 1 is that Adam as a villain isn't really well fleshed out because he barely has any screen time. So to compensate for that, they went the total opposite direction in Season 2 and gave Vox a comical amount of screen time. So they overcorrected too far in the opposite direction, essentially. How am I doing? I am doing very well, Ava. I am having a good time playing a game that I love, chatting with people about stuff, and still reveling in the victory of getting the Toy Story 1 video out in time for the anniversary. So yeah, I am doing very well. Thank you for asking. Thoughts on Helluva Boss? It's not my thing. I tried. I like the first couple episodes, and there's pieces of season 2 that I like. But overall, it just feels like that show doesn't know what it wants to be. It feels very... I don't want to say directionless, but it feels like it changes up what story it's telling a lot. And... yeah, I'm just not really interested in... The characters in that show that I care about the most are the ones who the show seems thoroughly uninterested in developing. And apart from the most cliche, generic, boring... end of season arc ever, which is, uh-oh, this character's pregnant, which that I think is one of the clearest examples of, oh, you're out of ideas. This might just be a pet peeve of mine, but I groan so hard in a television show where it's the final episode of a season, and then the final, like, 5 minutes, out of completely fucking nowhere, they're just like, hey, this character's pregnant now, and I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? It screams to me like we don't know what else to do with our female characters, so we're just gonna make one of them pregnant and then go from there. Which is just really... And I feel like I always have to make the clarification whenever I make this point that I'm not saying that every time a character gets pregnant it's automatically bad, because Good Luck Charlie is probably the cleanest example of how to do this storyline really, really well. But the other thing in Good Luck Charlie is that it didn't scream to... It didn't come off as, we're out of ideas, we need something to do next season, let's make Amy pregnant. And because it didn't happen in the season finale. It wasn't like a massive season finale cliffhanger ending for the next season. It was just a natural development of the story. But the way they do it in Hell of a Boss is one of the worst examples of how to do that. And it's not like it wasn't set up in the final episode of season 2. But before that point, there was just nothing. And it really screams that they just didn't know what to do next. And that is really disappointing, because it just kind of reinforces what I've always believed about that show, which is that it's Blitz and Stolas. It's the Blitz and Stolas show. And no one else really matters. Which is kind of a shame, because that isn't really that wasn't the status quo that I was led to believe was going to be the case from the first few episodes of season 1. But I'm always careful about saying that, because I know that obviously Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss share a pretty sizable... There's a lot of audience crossover, to the point where whenever... Like, if I wear a Hazbin Hotel shirt out in public, I can't walk 5 steps without... There's at least one person I interact with in the real world will stop me and say, hey, I love your shirt, and we'll chat about Hazbin for a bit. And one of the questions I will inevitably get asked is, have you seen Hell of a Boss? And I always have to be like... Well, originally I had to say, no, I haven't. But now that I have seen it, I have to be like, yeah, and I just don't really like it. And I know that people really love both those shows, but I just don't. I don't care for the characters of Hell of a Boss really at all. And Hazbin appeals to me way, way more than Hell of a Boss does. But I'm hoping, like, if season 3... Like, I'm still interested enough in the show to want to see it get better, and I'm hoping that season 3 does get better. But if after season... Maybe not even season... If after the first couple episodes of season 3 I'm still not interested, I'm probably just not gonna... Like, I haven't... They released the new... What was it? Mission Zero? Like, the new beginning episode of Hell of a Boss for Amazon Prime. I still haven't seen that, even though it came out a while ago, because I just don't... I don't really care enough to watch it. So... Like, I don't... If season 3 doesn't grab me, I don't think I'm gonna see it through to the end. I just don't really care much for it. But what I am curious about is seeing how the show's gonna cross over with Hazbin Hotel. Because they teased that in the announcement that Hell of a Boss was coming to Prime Video. That the characters are gonna get to cross over. So I'm just wondering in what capacity that's gonna... Like, what's that gonna look like? Is it going to be a thing where you have... Because they did this for the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, where they had one episode on... as a part of the Jimmy Neutron lore. Like, the official serialization of Jimmy Neutron was one episode for that. That was half the crossover. And then the other half of the crossover was part of the Fairly OddParents timeline. And so maybe it would be a similar thing where you have a 2-part crossover. One episode of that goes to Hazbin Hotel. the other half of it goes to Hell of a Boss, or maybe it's its own separate standalone feature-length production that isn't attached directly to the serialization, because both those shows have so much going on, and there really isn't any natural overlap between what those shows have going on, that I don't know how they would logically, seamlessly cross over unless they were doing their own independent storyline. And to be honest with you, and maybe this is just because I don't care much for Hell of a Boss, I imagine if you really like Hell of a Boss, you would feel differently about this, but I kind of don't want the Hell of a Boss characters and storyline to... Poison's the wrong word, but clog up the Has-Been story. Like, I don't want the Has-Been story to become diluted by what's going on with the Hell of a Boss characters. I don't really think in the opposite direction as well. I don't think the Hell of a Boss storyline needs all the stuff with Has-Been going on either. They both those shows have enough of their own shit to deal with. So yeah, but I guess we'll see. We'll see what they do with it. Because there's been no real mention of it since the announcement. It's been, like, Hell of a Boss Season 3 is being worked on, but it's going to be a while. And then Has-Been Season 3, I'm expecting it's going to come out in early 2027, because that would line up production-wise with how long it took to make Season 2. So that, but as far as there being any word on a crossover special, there's been nothing. So I don't really know what to expect from in that respect. What could make Toy Story 5 worse than Toy Story 4? If at the end they go, well, I guess our time as toys is over, technology wins, kids only play with iPads now, we're gonna go fuck off into the world, all of us are gonna leave Bonnie and live happily ever after exploring the world together as lost toys. That would be the clear way they could make it worse, because that would genuinely just be saying fuck all of Toy Story. Just fuck everything that happened before this point. Do I have backlogs? No, I do not. Aside from Toy Story 3, what's my favorite movie? Aladdin. The original Aladdin from 1992. Which I should probably rewatch. It's been a while since I've watched Aladdin in full, so I should probably gonna be one of the things that I watch while I'm on my sort of mini hiatus. Vox is actually in Scream Rain. I didn't say he isn't in Scream Rain. I said he's not the bulk of the episode. I said he has very little screen time compared to the main characters, which is one of the reasons I like it so much. That it's more time is spent with Charlie and Vaggie and Angel and Husk than there is with Vox, which is why that episode is something I enjoy watching so much compared to... Vox has 3 fucking songs, and all 3 songs in episode 5 are Vox-centric. All 3 of them. Meanwhile, the Shaggy song in episode 6 is less than 2 minutes long, which is really annoying. Oh, that's the other thing. I think I would prefer it if we go back to only having 2 songs per episode instead of there being 3 songs in some episodes, because I think I'd rather there be less songs that are longer and more meaningful than I would prefer that there be more songs, but none, like, so many of season 2 songs don't even break the 2-minute or 2.5 minute mark. Do I hate Vox? I feel like I said this pretty cleanly earlier, but no. Vox is a good character, and what they do with him in season 2 is good. There's just too much of him, because he comes, I'll say this for like the 3rd time this stream, there's too much of him. There's too much of him compared to the other characters. What are my thoughts on how Fairly Odd Parents handled its pregnancy storyline? I would need to rewatch the show. I remember almost nothing about what happened there. It has been a long... Because Fairly Odd Parents isn't really a show... Like, Phineas and Ferb is a show that I would revisit again and again at various stages of my life. Fairly Odd Parents I only watched when I was a kid, and I never... I'd say past, like, 2014... I never came back to watch another episode of Fairly Odd Parents. Which is why I wasn't there for the Chloe stuff. The moment, I think everyone has a moment where they stopped watching, like a thing that the show introduced that made them stop caring about it. For some people it was Poof, for some people it was Sparky, That was me. Sparky was the point where I said, yeah, you know, I think I'm gonna stop. I don't think I need to see this show anymore. But then the other big one that I didn't even know about was Chloe. Like, I had to be told about that. I was like, wait, who's Chloe? And you're like, you don't know? Like, no, I don't. Oh, boy. But do I have some bombshells to drop on you? I had no idea that Chloe was even a thing in the show. And I was so shocked by hearing about what they did with her. Because it just completely goes against everything the show was about from the beginning. Not really a Toy Story fan, but they really should have ended with 3. Yes. Yes, they should have. In other news, the sky is blue. Have I played Sonic Racing Cross Worlds? Yes, and I enjoyed playing it significantly more than I enjoyed playing Mario Kart World. I mean, well, okay, I haven't played the full release of Cross Worlds. I've only played the test public network flight thing. But, you know, that still counts as experiencing the gameplay. Which, like I said, I enjoyed considerably more than I did Mario Kart World gameplay. Will I be playing Bendy in the Factory when it comes out? If that's Bendy 3, then I'm sure I will, because for as frustrated as I am with how a lot of things in both Bendy and the Ink Machine and Bendy and the Dark Revival, I still care about the series. It was nowhere near as big of a part of my life as Five Nights at Freddy's was and is, but it is still something that I cared a pretty decent amount about in high school, and so I still want to see where the series goes from here. But I'm not, like, on pins and needles waiting for it. I'll play it when it comes out, but I'm not actively looking forward to its release like I am for other things. By the way, I think on the subject of galaxies that get a little tedious for green stars, I think we can add Boo Moon to the list, because I am completely sick of going through this swampy area. I'm completely over it. What is my favorite Phineas and Ferb episode? I would say Summer Belongs to You. I don't remember the storyline where Cosmo was pregnant with Poof. I didn't say that. What I said is that the specifics of it have been lost to me because I haven't watched the show since I was a kid. So I would need to rewatch it to understand the specifics of how it all plays out and give proper thoughts on it. Fairly Odd Parents Season 10 just completely throws the rules out the window. That's what I heard. That's why it feels like it was a good decision that I stopped watching the show. And it wasn't even like a morally objectionable thing. Like, I won't watch Fairly Odd Parents anymore. They've taken it too far. Because I was like 10 or 11. All I knew was that it wasn't entertaining me anymore and I didn't care about it. So I stopped. It was as simple as that. I just did not care for the show anymore, so I didn't watch it. But then I found out in high school how much more the show had fallen from grace, and I'm just like, man, what a bullet I dodged there. Favorite piece of Toy Story media that isn't the original trilogy? Toy Story of Terror. Unless you count the theme park stuff at Disney World, in which case, you know, Toy Story Midway Mania is kind of an awesome ride. I'm also really a big fan of the Roundup Rodeo Barbecue restaurant in Toy Story Land. Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin in Magic Kingdom is a classic. But yeah, I think the answer is Toy Story of Terror. And Fly Straight Down. Easiest star in the whole game. Or I get at least quickest star in the whole game to get. Opinion on Forky asked a question. I haven't even seen all of the Forky asks a question shorts because there's just like there's no. I would never review those shorts because there's nothing to them. they're not worth covering in any meaningful way on the channel. It's just like literally what the title says. Forky asks a question, and it's like those Timon and Pumbaa shorts that you could find on the DVD of, I think, Lion King 2, where Pumbaa's like, ever wonder how sneezing works? And Timon goes, oh, Pumbaa, I don't have to wonder. I know. And then Timon gives a really stupid explanation. Like, there's a bunch of volcanoes in your nose that erupt when you sneeze. And then Pumbaa's like, oh, I always thought. And then he gives the actual scientific explanation for how it all works. And it's playing off of, in the original movie, when they're talking about the stars, and Timon says they're fireflies, and then Pumbaa actually says what they really are, which is big balls of gas, and Timon says it's stupid for it. It's just taking that concept and expanding it into an entire show. And it's kind of the same thing in Forky Asks a Question, where it's literally just Forky asks a question, one of the characters in Bonnie's room answers it for him, and that's it. It's educational stuff for extremely small children, and I don't feel that it is worth discussing beyond that in any substantive way, because it's just like, I don't know. It's not. I don't know what else there is to it beyond that. Are Zootopia 2 and Five Nights at Freddy's the last movies that I'm going to watch this year? Probably, yeah. I don't know what else is really coming out that I'd be interested in. Well, I mean, it's not a movie, but if the Stranger Things finale comes to theaters, then I will obviously see that in the movie theater. Oh, actually, you know what? Also, Wake Up... Actually, wait. Is Wake Up Dead Man coming to theaters, or is that going to be a Netflix exclusive thing? Well, in either case, I enjoyed making fun of how stupid the first two Knives Out movies were, so I will probably do the same. I mean, well, hey, I don't know, maybe this one will be good, but whether it's good or it's bad, I will at least be interested in checking out the next Knives Out movie, because I think that's, if not already out, it's coming out pretty soon. I know I've seen people at least posting reviews of the movie on Twitter and stuff, and as per usual, saying that it's another certified Rian Johnson masterpiece. Alright, this level is going to be kind of annoying, because both the green stars here you have to aim yourself at. And is that too... Nope, nailed it. Dead on. Wake Up Dead Man will be on Netflix. Yeah, I didn't know if it was going to get... Because I think... I was pretty sure Knives Out got... Or Glass Onion got at least a limited theatrical release, so I was hoping that... Or at least I was wondering if they would do the same thing for Wake Up Dead Man. But then again, it is Netflix, and they kind of... They think they're saving the movie industry from the dreaded movie theaters. They think that streaming is the future, so... I suppose it makes sense that they would not be interested in putting it in movie theaters, but... Oh well. Plan on doing a supercut of Incredibles 2. Maybe someday. The thing with Incredibles 2 is that if I were to remaster, like, I would need there's a lot of things about Incredibles 2. I wouldn't want to change, well, I mean, I would want to change a lot of things about how it's written, because the Incredibles 2 series is representative of a very different time as far as the type of content that I wanted to make. So it would, if I were to remake it, it would be a very different series. But I wouldn't change any of that for the purposes of a supercut, because the intent of a supercut, like even the Toy Story 3 series, there's things I would change, there's things I wish I had done differently. But when making the supercut, I'm just going to keep it exactly as is, barring any instance where I refer to, like, hey, this will happen in the next video. I'll just change that to in the last couple hours or whatever. But visually speaking, Incredibles 2, the series, is very choppy as far as it's like... There were some rendering problems I was having with that series, and it results in the footage of the movies that I was using looking very stilted and like it's moving in slow motion. So I would essentially, if I were ever to do a supercut of Incredibles 2, I would essentially want to remake that from the ground up, visually speaking, like completely re-edit it with all the same clips, just with way higher quality. If I was ever gonna bother touching that series again, which would be a much more massive undertaking than any of the other supercuts that I've done. But yeah, it's maybe someday. Maybe someday. Can I do a review for FNAF Movie 2? Probably not. You know, I considered doing a review for the first FNAF movie because of how much it pissed me off. And it's possible that the same could happen again. But the reason why I didn't end up actually making a video about the first FNAF movie in 2023 is because I was just too busy. I was too busy trying to finish the Owl House video and get that through copyright. And then also, we were coming up on the holiday season, which meant that I needed to spend a lot of time getting the Home Alone commentary marathon finished. So I literally just didn't have time on my schedule to actually commit to a FNAF critique. But believe you me, I would have torn it apart if I had time in my schedule to actually critique it. I would have shown it no mercy. And if I would have time on my schedule to do that this year, because like I said, I'm kind of taking the December off and a good chunk of January as well. So it's not like I wouldn't have time, it's just whether I would have interest to do so. I'd say probably not. Because I mean, just generally speaking, I just don't... I'm at my best when I really sit down and take my time with making a really properly researched and comprehensive script after whatever I'm covering is already fully released. I don't really find that my strengths lie in quick, off-the-cuff, out-of-theater reactions, like my Elemental video or my original Lightyear video. It's just not the kind of stuff I prefer to make. So, like, I've had these strong feelings for a lot of different movies. Like, Moana 2 last year was another example of just this movie made me so angry that I want to rant about it in a video, but my plans to do that quickly fall through the floor. So I just kind of don't even bother now. I'm just like, yeah, there's no sense getting started on this when I know I'm not gonna end up seeing it through to completion. Do I think the Five Nights at Freddy's movie was scary? God, no. The only, like, major jump scare in the movie my audience laughed at. It's the one with Foxy in the hallway. That's the only, like, proper big jump scare, and my audience just was howling uncontrollably at it. That movie is not scary at all. It is... I mean, there's barely anything that happens in it. The movie is so boring. It's so slow and meandering, and nothing happens for so long. And when things actually do happen, it's just funny. Or annoying. And you may wonder why I'm even willing to give the second movie the benefit of the doubt and give it a chance, considering how much I hated watching the first one. And really the only reason is because Scott and Emma both said, like, hey, we know, like, we are happy that people liked the first movie, but we are paying attention to the criticism and what we think we could do better. And that signals to me, like, okay, they know that they have a lot of room for improvements. I'm willing, because there are good things about the original FNAF movie. There's not many of them, but they are there. So, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they are going to improve for the second movie. But if after the second movie it's still shit, then at that point I'm just done. I'm not bothering with it anymore. It's not worth my time. You thought I said I wouldn't support Blumhouse because they support AI? Did you know that if you if you go into the ticket selection screen for a movie and you select your seat, but you don't actually finish the transaction, that the seat will remain occupied. Like, if you mark a seat and then back out of the transaction and then you go back into the app to try to get a ticket again, the selection won't have reset. And the reason why they do that is because let's say there's more than one person trying to get tickets to something at the same time. If they both select a seat, then the system's and they both select the exact same seat. The system will encounter an error where like it's trying to give the same seat to two different people. So basically, it has a failsafe where as soon as one person marks a seat, until the transaction is completed or until the grace period expires, it will remain selected so that no one can, two people won't be able to mark the same seat more than once. Which means, if you mark a seat and don't actually complete a transaction, then you back out of the app, the seat will still be marked as filled, which means no one else will be able to buy it for, I think, like 10 minutes. So if you do it 10 minutes before the showtime, you will know for absolute certainty that that seat will not be occupied. There's no reason why I would be telling you this, but it's just something to consider. Do I think Charlie earns the hate she gets? No, not at all. It is. If there are so many examples of morally flawed characters with like critical character flaws to overcome by the end of the story that just do not face the same level of scrutiny and criticism, and it's kind of pathetic that she's facing this much severe backlash. Like, I just don't... People criticized her in Season 1 for being too perfect, and then as soon as she actually shows flaws in Season 2, they're like, oh, I can't believe she's doing these horrible things, and I'm like, what do you people want? Genuinely, what could the show do to satisfy you at this point? Someone on my server said that it was rooted, that kind of reaction was rooted in misogyny, and I don't want to be that. I don't want to go to that extent. I don't want to be that dismissive and bad faith towards the people who don't like the show, even though the people who don't like the show would never extend that level of good faith towards the show. You don't want to stoop to their level. I just don't understand. Like, never show these people... I mentioned this in the last Galaxy 2 stream. Never show these people Breaking Bad if Charlie Morningstar is enough to break them. I don't know how they would... I don't know how their brains would cope with the idea of a main character doing those horrible things constantly. Of course, obviously, it's a bit of a different story comparing Breaking Bad to Hazbin Hotel because, of course, the difference between someone like Walter White and Charlie Morningstar is that Walter White doesn't learn from his mistakes and he keeps going down a rabbit hole of horrible thing after horrible thing, whereas the whole point is that Charlie is making mistakes, but she then has to learn from by the end of the season. But the point is more so, it's just like, you never really see anybody coming after characters like Homelander or other deeply flawed main characters, but for some reason, I really believe Hazbin Hotel has the most erroneously overblown bad faith hate-dom that I may have ever seen for any kind of fictional story. I can't wrap my brain around some of the shit that people say about the show. It really just comes across to me that you are in no way interested in giving this show the benefit of the doubt, and you are instead actually actively interested in looking at all times for the worst possible interpretation of something. I just don't get it. Thoughts on Lamplife? It pisses me off because they have that line where Woody's telling the story of what happened to the toys at the end of Toy Story 3 where they're in the incinerator, and Giggle's just like, let me get this straight. You're going toward the flames of the incinerator, and out of nowhere, a giant claw comes in to save the day? Puh, that's nothing. Let me tell you about what happened to me and Bo over the last few years. And it's just like, we were sitting in a box. We weren't being played with. We were in a snowstorm. We were on a boat. Like, okay, where's the part where you experienced something that's worse than almost being burned alive, you fucking asshole? It's just, then that's like the first minute of the short is the characters having that conversation. It's like, oh, you just don't respect Toy Story 3 at all, do you? You just don't. You just think that whole thing, you think the whole movie was a mistake. You've gone out of your way to reverse everything about that movie and just try to minimize it as much as possible. So, yeah, that's fun. That's cool. I like that. Thoughts on the Power Rangers? I have no familiarity with anything Power Rangers related. Did I did I like Clockwork Ruins Galaxy? Yeah? Music's awesome. I mean, the music's awesome with the whole game, but this one, the music for Clockwork Ruins feels like a proper adventure soundtrack. From your experience, they'll be the type of person that says that's the point, insert character is meant to be flawed or bad when talking about Homelander or Walter White. Right, but I guess like that's kind of the point I'm trying to highlight, that you are capable of recognizing that those characters are supposed to be people with obvious moral failings, but then you turn to Charlie Morningstar and you're like, oh, this character is the protagonist. That must mean that the show is endorsing everything she's doing at all times. It can't possibly mean that the character is making mistakes that she has to learn from by the end. What's Toy Story? Who's Woody? I don't know. No, I want my characters to be perfect at all times and never make mistakes. I want them to be flawless paragons of morality. Those are interesting. It's one of the things people say about the newer Halo games, that they don't like that Master Chief is kind of more of a character and he demonstrates emotional vulnerability a lot more. It's like, oh, I can't believe they have the Chief fail in Halo Infinite. They have him break down and be emotional. Man, they ruined the badass power fantasy in the original trilogy. And I'm like, oh, so you just want to feel like you actually do want a character who is just a Gary Stu. You actually want someone who never makes mistakes and is completely perfect all the time. I mean, sure, you know, to each their own, but that's so fucking boring to me. I don't know. Name a single bad thing about the Toy Story trilogy. Okay, the gas station scene in Toy Story 1 is horrifically contrived as far as they make a whole big deal about how Andy's mom needs to pump the gas, and then they get out of the car, go into the convenience store, come back, don't pump the gas, and then they just leave. That's very strange. The end of Toy Story 2. Oh shit, I didn't actually hit the switch. The end of Toy Story 2, where the toys are racing to catch up with Woody and Al going to the airport. There's just miraculously a Pizza Planet truck that happens to be right there that they can use to, like, that wouldn't even have been that hard to fix, just having like a throwaway line that the pizza's being ordered and delivered, or just something, anything to justify why there's just miraculously a car there that they can use to drive. That where the door's open and the engine is on and it's just ready to be used. The gas station scene, I mean the You Are a Toy scene. I don't mean that part of it, but that is the scene where in which the things I was just talking about happen. Uh-oh. You ate on most main characters now have no flaws. Yeah, it's kind of... It feels like a lot of the times people write them as to be self-inserts. They're just a vessel. And by the way, you can write stories where the main characters don't really change at all. Like, Back to the Future, I think, is the prime example of this, where Marty McFly doesn't have a character arc in Back to the Future. But that's fine, because that type of character is meant to inspire change in the people around him, which he does. Paddington's another example of this kind of character, where the main character may not have an arc, but he does meaningfully affect the story and the people within it. So that's fine. But it's... There's a specific type of character that gets written where... Like... I think the go-to example for this is in Captain Marvel. Her arc in that movie is discovering that she was right the entire time, basically. That she was always the most powerful thing that ever existed. She just needed to believe that, and she needed to take off her inhibitor patch thing, and then she could truly be Captain Marvel. or whatever. I don't know. I'm just that does not interest me at all. What, I mean, they don't pump the gas? I feel like I was pretty explicit. I mean, they don't pump the gas. They get out of the car, they go into the store, they come back, and then they leave without pumping the gas. A lot of gas pumps have a lock trigger so that it will auto-fill the tank until it's full, then trigger off at that point. No, it's like, they're not even outside. They're like, they go into the store and then they don't even interact with the car. Because, like, obviously if they were actually there pumping the gas, and they would have seen, because Woody and Buzz jump out of the car at the same side as to where the gas pump is. So if they were doing that, then they would have obviously seen that, and then the whole thing would have been exposed. But that's not what happens. The sand bucket's stunned in Toy Story 3 in order to get Woody and the rest to escape Daisy. Yep. That's the clean-cut example. Or not escape Daisy, escape Big Baby. But yeah, that's probably the most clean-cut example of this just should not happen. And yet it did. It's the quote from Ant-Man 3. None of this should have happened. But it did. Thoughts on the Stranger Things episode, The Flayed? Is that the one where Jonathan gets clocked in the head by something that absolutely should have killed him? Like when they're at the hospital, when Nancy and Jonathan are at the hospital, and then the Hawkins Post workers come for them, and then Jonathan gets bashed in the... I think it's like a chair that he gets bashed in the face by. That absolutely should have killed him, and he's just fine. Yeah, that's insane. Perfect example of a Mary Sue is Rey from Rise of Skywalker. She is perfect at everything, and everyone loves her despite being the granddaughter of the most evil, heartless person in the galaxy. So, I'm not a Star Wars fan, so I can't really meaningfully contribute to this discussion. As far as, like, I just don't know the arguments, because I don't care enough about Star Wars to familiarize myself with them. But I do know that Rey is an example of that type of character that people will often point to. And I can certainly see why. It's funny you mentioned Rise of Skywalker specifically, though, because I feel like that's the movie where JJ was... Listen, like, a lot of Rise of Skywalker feels like an apology to... It's not a good apology, mind you. It fails in almost every possible way. But it does feel in a lot of areas like, yeah, we know things really got screwed up in The Last Jedi, but we're gonna make deliberate efforts to make amends. Like, in The Last Jedi, Luke throws his lightsaber off a cliff, which everyone hated. And then in Rise of Skywalker, they have Rey throw the lightsaber off the cliff, but then Luke catches it. And he says, a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect, which is just... I wanted to laugh in the theater when I heard that, because it's such a clear just fuck you to The Last Jedi. It's like, it really just feels like two directors fighting with each other over whose... Ah, shit, I missed. Over whose toys they get to play with in the sandbox. Because there was no cohesive plan for this trilogy. They just... JJ had a plan for episode 8, which Ryan then promptly ignored, and then JJ had a choice between either continuing with all the storylines that had been set up in episode 8 by Ryan, or pivoting back to his original storyline, or at least trying to pivot back to it as best as he could. And then, which well, according to him, I guess, required the use of bringing back Palpatine from the dead, which... might be one of the worst writing choices that's ever been made in the history of anything ever. Yeah, the whole thing just sucks. But I mentioned Rise of Skywalker in this respect because it's like that movie opens with Rey training. Well, because that was one of the criticisms that people had about Rey, is that she never, like, everything she does just feels She just gets handed everything on a silver platter, and she never actually, without putting in any effort, she feels like she's already as powerful as, if not even more powerful than, Luke Skywalker. So Rise of Skywalker opens with her actually training in the hopes of improving. Least favorite character in Stranger Things 3, Hopper. He is the biggest victim of that season's horrible writing and character assassination. Hopper is easy. I mean, they all suck. I hate them all because they're all acting out of sorts and they're all assholes. Joyce is the only one who really... Well, not the only one. Steve, Erica, and Dustin are all fine. They're the characters who are most enjoyable to watch. So really the only saving grace of most of Season 3 is whenever they're on screen together with Robin. The problem is they're also stuck in arguably the worst storyline of the season, which is when they're intercepting a Russian communication and breaking into a secret hidden Russian base underneath the local mall, which is fucking hilarious. Hilariously bad, I should say. But at least the characters that are on screen are enjoyable to, like, Steve and Dustin's dynamic is as wholesome as it always was. Robin makes for a great addition to the group, and Erica is just amazing. But everyone else except for Joyce and Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark doesn't really get much to do, but when he's in it, he's good. He's just like he always was. And yeah, I think Joyce is the only other. Oh, I guess Murray is also the same as he was in Season 2. But out of the core cast, it's really just it's the Scoops Ahoy group, it's Joyce, and that's really it. I think the next Green Star is out here somewhere. Yep. Right here. Whoa, 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 whoa. Depth perception is a thing. Do I want Pixar to make a Cars 4? Fuck no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before they actually make it, because of course it's gonna make $1 bajillion, and Cars is a massively profitable IP, and Pixar sure is hurt. We got Coco 2, we got Incredibles 3, we got Toy Story 5. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we get Cars 4, but I hope that I'm wrong about that. Robin's also okay. Well, yeah, so the reason I didn't mention Robin is because the point was talking about characters who were acting out of sorts from how they were in previous seasons. And obviously Robin isn't in previous seasons, so you can't really say that she is or isn't acting out of sorts because her first appearance is Season 3. But I also did bring up that their Dustin, Erica, and Steve's dynamic in conjunction with Robin is what makes that part of the story so enjoyable to watch. At least compared to everything else. But obviously Robin isn't. You can't really compare Robin to how she was previously because she isn't. Although I will say, it's kind of annoying how basically everything about the Russian plotline gets unearthed by Robin. It's almost entirely her is the one who solves the mystery of what's going on with the Russian base. And it kind of gives the impression that it's like everyone else is useless except for Robin, which I am not a fan of at all. But other than that, she's at least entertaining to watch, and she does have the one really great scene in the bathroom. Who do I consider the best Digital Circus character? I answered this question, I think, on at least one previous stream, but it's a tough question because they're all so unique and interesting. Like, I like Pomni the most, but Kane and Zubul make me laugh the most. And then Jax and Kinger are the ones who I'm most emotionally compelled by. So it's... there's different reasons why I like them all, so I don't really have, as far, like, Pomni's the one I like the most, but it's an all-star cast all around, so who I would consider the best character is kind of a complicated question that I don't really know how to answer. How could the Soviet Union set up that underground base in the first place? I really... the way they try to explain this is by saying that, like, the Russians have the Starcourt Mall in their pocket, like, they're on the payroll, they're all in on it, and they're paying... They pay the mayor of Hawkins to keep quiet, but it's just a nightmare, logistically, as to how this could ever possibly... The amount of resources that would be required to engineer... Because this isn't a tiny operation. It is a massive, massive base with a giant fuck-ass device opening a portal to an alternate dimension. I don't... Like, you can drive vehicles down there with how giant these tunnels are. I don't understand how it could... How... in any way they could possibly set this up. Even with their attempts to explain it, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't get it. I don't know how this could ever be possible. But they sure do want... I think it's just... Really, I think it's just ties back to what I was saying at the beginning of the stream, which is just they just didn't have time. They didn't know what to do with Season 3. Netflix was on their ass to make another season, and they just threw some shit at the wall and hoped that it would stick on the basis of, well, Russians were a common bad guy trope in the 80s, so let's... And, you know, our whole show started by essentially being an homage to the 80s, so why not just have the whole... Why not lean even harder? This is what my dad said when he watched Season 3, is the reason you didn't like it is because you didn't grow up in the 80s, but I grew up in the 80s, so I recognized all the references to all the movies and all the things, and I'm like, okay, sure. If that's what you need to enjoy something, then okay, but I am not at all... I think the clearest example of this, actually, is the whole New Coke thing. That doesn't mean anything to you. If you didn't grow up in the 80s, or if you are at least if you are in no way conscious of... Like, if you don't know that they are... That was a thing in the 80s, was the whole old Coke versus New Coke thing. And the whole conversation just feels wildly out of place. It's like, why is this... The end of the world is happening, and for some reason we're talking about our opinions on Coca-Cola. And the reason it's there is because it's like, well, hey, remember the 80s? Remember when everyone would argue about New Coke versus old Coke? Well, here we go. We're doing it now. And that's it. That is the extent of that dialogue scene. Will is also in character. Oh yeah, I forgot about Will. Will's good. Will has one of the best scenes in the entire season when he destroys Castle Byers. Just feeling like because we've all been there. We've all felt like our childhood is slipping away as our friends kind of move on and maybe find those types of relationships sooner than we did. That stuff's all great. Unfortunately, beyond that one scene, Will gets almost nothing substantive to do, which is why I'm excited for Season 5, where they're actually going to make Will... Because I am ultimately fine with Will kind of taking a backseat in Season 3, just because he was the focal point of Seasons 1 and 2, so... You know, it's nice to kind of give him a break and not put him through the ringer for 3 seasons in a row. But at the same time, this all started with Will, and they really have... They've been teasing a lot of stuff with his character in Seasons 3, and especially Season 4. So they better fucking deliver on Season 5 with him. They had better deliver, because there is so much untapped potential that they have just not done anything meaty. Even though I do like what they give Will in Season 4 and his scenes with Mike, especially when he breaks down in Episode 8. Like, that was... I legitimately got, like, physically emotional when I saw that for the first time, because it's so good and his acting is so... Noah Schnapp is honestly... I mean, the whole cast is an all-star, but his performance in Season 2, where he's just putting all of his everything into that performance when the Mind Flayer is taking over his body. And then again in Season 4, when he has to deliver this really emotional powerhouse of a confrontation with Mike. He's really good at what he does. And so I'm excited for him to get the chance. Because he wasn't really in Season 1 much at all, because he was the he was the driving force of he was the crux of the emotional core, but he wasn't an active player in the story at all. So I'm glad season 2 gave him a chance to kind of show off his acting chops, and then hopefully they get to do more of that in season 5. But I also because one of their mission statements for season 5 seems to be, we're going back to the classic days with season 1, and that kind of sets off alarm bells in my head, because the Duffer Brothers are famously overly reactive with their writing, where they tend to write things in accordance with how the audience responds to them. Like I mentioned earlier, like, oh, season 1 didn't acknowledge Barb, well, season 2's gonna have Barb be a major focus, and we're gonna blame Hopper for not saving her, even though we didn't write her to save her, because we just fucking forgot about her. And then season 2 was accused of being too derivative of season 1, so season 3 pivoted far away from season 1 and made it completely horrible. So then season 4 went back to the more traditional format with a darker tone, a more serious tone, and, well, good writing. And also just kind of making up for the mistakes of season 3's writing in really every possible way. So that's that. And then what I'm afraid of is that when they say that season 5 is going to be harkening back to season 1, I'm afraid that it's going to be too heavily focused around, like, remember the stuff from season 1? Like, I hope it naturally ties in and it feels full circle in a meaningful way, and not just like, do you remember the stuff that happened in season 1? Remember that season that everyone unanimously agrees upon is the best one? I hope they don't do that. I hope it doesn't feel pandering at all, because that would really suck the fun out of it, as if it was transparently just like, yeah, we know you like this one the best, so we're just gonna lean into it hard. Kind of like what it seems like Toy Story 5 might be doing if leaks are to be believed, and that it's leaning hard into the Jessie montage from Toy Story 2 of When She Loved Me. That would, because they know that everyone unanimously loves that, so it would be very annoying if it turned out that they just were doing it for cheap nostalgia pandering, and not because they had meaningful reasons to actually commit to any of it. Anyway, we're finally free of Battle Belts. Honestly, like, that's the thing. Battle Belt is not a hard galaxy. It's not a frustrating galaxy. It's just time-consuming and tedious, because you have to play through those encounters again and again and again, which again is all of the green stars, but I feel like it's especially bad in Battle Belts. Thoughts on Hopper character in 4? His whole storyline in season 4 is essentially just making up for season 3 and reverting him back to the emotionally grounded, level-headed, reasonable, and intelligent character that he solves like most of the mystery in season 1 entirely by himself. He's a very perceptive character. Instead, he's just a blithering idiot in season 3. But then he has this really smart trick in episode 6 of season 4, where he fakes a stunt with the guards to get his hands on resources that he can use to have a chance at fighting the Demogorgon. And then, of course, he has the whole escape plan in episode 4, which obviously backfires, but not through no fault of his own. He was betrayed by Yuri. So I'm hoping that they keep that all consistent in season 5 with how his character was written, because he was treated very poorly in season 3, and then they made up for it in season 4, but they can't stop there. They gotta see it through all the way to the end. I also hope they don't kill him, because, like, if you were gonna kill him, then the way they did it in season 3, I mean, I'm glad they didn't kill him off in season 3, because if that was his final season, it would have been horrible for him to go out on a note that atrocious. But ignoring the context of the season it came from, the actual sacrifice scene in season 3 was kind of great, and especially the final send-off with his letter to Elle was just perfect. So if they kill him again in season 5, like after all of this, it would kind of feel cheap, I think, if it all amounted to nothing and he died anyway. I think the biggest character I'm fully expecting them to kill is 11. I do not foresee 11 surviving this season. But then at the same time, the Duffer Brothers said recently, like, well, we don't want to kill characters, because that makes the show depressing, and we don't like that. So it's like, so are you just never going to kill a main character? Are you just completely allergic to the concept of main characters dying as a consequence of their actions? Like, do you only allow that to happen for characters that you invent specifically for one season, so that you can have... This is one of the biggest problems with the Duffer Brothers writing, by the way, is that they know that it's emotionally powerful to kill off characters, but they also don't want to get rid of any of the main characters, so they invent a character every season who's the nicest, most amazing person in the world, who you are inevitably going to fall in love with, and then killing them off at the last second for sometimes stupid reasons. Like, the first example of this was Bob in Season 2, who's just the most amazing... Well, I mean, Barb in Season 1. Barb Season 1, Bob Season 2, not to get confused, because they sound similar. Barb is basically the nicest friend you could ever ask for in Season 1. She's perfect, she's the perfect friend, and she gets brutally murdered. And then Season 2, they have Bob, who, again, the perfect stepdad to the kids, and the perfect new boyfriend for Joyce, gets killed off in the dumbest way possible. Alexei in Season 3, because Murray was an idiot and left him alone for 2 seconds. And then Eddie in Season 4, which... yeah... His scene isn't as bad as some of the other ones. It's just... it's kind of annoying how clearly they telegraph his arc, because they beat you over the head with the whole, like... there's no shame in running, and then he... In episode 1, and then in another episode, he's like, I guess what I did, I ran away. And then in episode 6, he's like, oh, guess what I did, I ran away again. Because they're beating you over the head with the thing that Eddie does is run. But this time, he's not gonna run away. He's gonna fight. Even though in his final scene in Season 4, it's the one time where, no, you actually should run. Like, running away is absolutely a tactically advantageous thing for you to do. You should be running. You should not be sitting around like a grape. But, of course, that's the time when he doesn't run, when it makes no sense for him to not run, and he dies because of it, which is stupid. So, and apparently they're introducing even more new characters in Season 5, and it's like, I swear to fucking God, if they do it again, where they invent a character who only exists to be killed off for shock value, and none of the main characters are in any way meaningfully harmed, I'm gonna be really annoyed. And it's not even like I want these characters to die. Like, I like them a lot. I obviously don't want to, like, what happens at the end of Season 4, I didn't want that character to die. Personally, because I liked what they did with that character a lot. But from a storytelling perspective, they absolutely should have cut off that character, and it's embarrassing that they didn't, and now I have no idea how they're going to try to handle that in Season 5. Thoughts on the new SpongeBob 3D platformer game, Titan the Tide? I haven't played it, but I want to. I've heard good things about it. They're like the Hasbro episode Curtain Call. Yes, it was much, much better than the Season 1 finale. And the final song, which is beautiful. Thoughts on the scene in Stranger Things where Dustin sings to his girlfriend so that she can tell him Planck's constant formula? It's hilarious, and I love it, even though it's really stupid. That's kind of what I mean when I talk about how the final episode of Season 3 is watchable, and that it's a fun episode, even though a lot of it is really dumb. It's fun to watch, and that's one of the instances where it's just a really fun episode. I love the never-ending story thing. What Toy Story tune is my favorite? Small Fry, Party Source Rex, or Hawaiian Vacation? Hawaiian Vacation. That is quite easily my favorite of those three. Thoughts on Trap 2024? I liked it a lot when I saw it. However, I would have there's lots of logical breaches in as far as, like, there's no way this ever should have been allowed to unfold the way that it did, or things just working out very conveniently for characters to allow them to do the things they're doing. I need to rewatch it to have more substantive arguments against it, but I know that was... It would be a very easy movie to pick apart if I really wanted to, but it was entertaining at least. It wasn't, like, offensively horrible or anything. Although I could see someone being really, really upset by some of the logical breaches. What a week, huh? What a week indeed. Both the week that preceded us and the week that's gonna follow us. The week preceding us was hell as far as pushing. I got like 4 hours of sleep Thursday night preparing the Toy Story 1 love letter for final peer reviewing and proof watching. Because I was really, really pushing hard to get it out in time for the anniversary. And then the week that's ahead of us is the week of Stranger Things 5 and the week of Zootopia 2. So yeah, it's but I kind of planned from the start. I was hoping to have Toy Story 1 behind me so I could fully enjoy Stranger Things 5 and hopefully fully enjoy Zootopia 2 to their fullest extent without having a video hanging over my head, or worse, having a copyright appeal hanging over my head. I'm just glad to be on the other side of all this stuff now. That's my opinion on Yogi Bear. I really liked that movie as a kid. I don't know if I'd still like it as an adult, but I do have a bit of nostalgia for it. Remains to be seen if I would still. I don't. It wasn't very well received critically, and I don't know if I would have any critical feelings toward it as an adult, but I still like it. I still liked watching it. How is the Sonic Triple Feature coming along? It's coming along. There's still work to be done, and in fact, starting tomorrow, I'm going to be jumping on board to help Gagonic get it across the finish line. But it is at the same time, a lot of work has been done, but also there's so much more work to do. So it's coming along is all I can say for the time being. Thanksgiving as well. Yeah. Thanksgiving isn't really as big for my family as it is for a lot of other families, but Thanksgiving as well. Yeah. I'm going to see Thanksgiving. I'm going to see Zootopia 2 on Thanksgiving with my family, and then we're going out to like we don't really like all the traditional American Thanksgiving items. We don't really enjoy them that much, so there's a restaurant in my hometown that we go to every year instead, and that's our yearly Thanksgiving tradition. Yes, last year they really screwed up. They had my chicken prepared, and it was sitting on the pass waiting to be brought out to the table, because they wait to deliver food until it's all prepared so everyone's meals arrive at the same time. But someone stole my food. Like, I shit you not. It was the plate was sitting there waiting to be delivered, but then one of the waiters went back to get it and was like, where's my chicken? Where'd it go? I need to deliver this. Where the fuck did it go? And no one owned up to it. Like, someone snagged that chicken off the counter. I don't know if they grabbed it mistakenly, thinking it was someone else's order, or if they grabbed it like, ooh, free meal, I can take this home later and store it in the fridge. But whatever happened, I had to wait a lot longer to get my food. But, you know, credit to them, they took basically everything off. It would be one thing to take my meal off the bill. They took everything off the bill. The whole meal was comped by the restaurant, which was unheard of. But I guess that's the benefit you get when you're a regular at a place, and that, you know, when you're a regular at a restaurant, that you kind of get special privileges in the sense that they know that you're going to be back, so they want to make sure that you don't stop coming back. So they go above and beyond for that kind of thing. But they really didn't honestly, I don't really like to be a stickler about, oh, you better take this off the bill. And in fact, there was a situation that I don't really want to get into with my family, my extended family, like about a year and a half ago when everyone was in town. We were out at dinner, and one of the waiters dropped a glass, and then the glass broke, and one of the glasses impaled my cousin in the leg. And, you know, it was an honest mistake. Well, he wasn't, like, bleeding out in anything. It wasn't, like, maybe I shouldn't use the word impaled, because that's overly dramatic. It cut my cousin. It cut him, and, you know, he wasn't, like, bleeding to death, but it was an injury, and that sent one of my family members into overdrive, and she confronted the waiter, like, I think you should you should do something to make up for us. And he asked, okay, what do you think I could do to make this right? And she said, I think it's your job to figure out what you could do to make this right. And it was, no words can describe to you. I can't meaningfully describe to you how awkward this conversation was. I was just sitting there with my head buried in my hands, like, I can't believe this is fucking happening. It was the most painfully awkward conversation I think I may have ever been involved in my life. And it's not like he consciously threw down the glass to try to hurt someone. It was an honest mistake. He helped clean it up. He made sure to tend to, like, he asked, are you hurt? Are you okay? Can I do anything? Can I get you medical help? What can I do? like, mistakes happen. People are only human. So it is not, doesn't help you in any meaningful way to be like, you, my friend, you need to tell me. I think it's up to you to figure out how you can make this up to me for your horrific transgression. And I'm just, shut the fuck up. But then the ultimate punchline to this horrific nightmarish ordeal was after all was said and done, my cousin reached across the table to grab his glass of water, and he knocked it over, and the glass shattered all over the table. It's like a fucking Seinfeld sitcom bit. Like, you spend 10 years chastising this waiter for being incompetent and horrible and evil for dropping a glass container, or dropping a glass, and then you knock over a glass yourself. At that moment, like, I shit you not, I usually, as much as it pains me to do it, I usually try to be, like, I try to keep my mouth shut and be diplomatic when dealing with family members like this. But as soon as that happened, I said, nah, fuck this, I'm out. And I literally stood up and walked away from the table because I knew exactly what was like. I refused to be a party to this anymore. And then what I love is that the waiter came over to the table after he saw this happen, and he was like, oh, what happened here? Did you knock over the glass? And I'm like, yeah, you get him, get him, guy, get him, fucking get him, get their asses. They're horribly hypocritical, incompetent, evil. I fucking, some people in my family, man, I just, oh, man. And, like, because I knew they weren't going to, so after I got up from the table and I saw the storm that was coming a million miles away, I went over to the waiter and the manager, and I apologized on behalf of my family, because I was so thoroughly and intensely embarrassed by what they had done and what they had said. I'm like, man, I am so, can I, like, is there anything I can't, I am so embarrassed by what they just did. And what he told me was, hey, no, it's fine, I get it, you know. Trust me, we deal with this stuff a lot. Some people are just, and he did the symbol with his finger by spinning it next to his head that implies, like, woo-hoo, like the you're crazy symbol. And it's, I just, part of me couldn't believe he said that. But then at the same time, it's like, you know, actually, I kind of can, I don't really blame him for saying that. Also, I think I only need 2 clouds to get the screen star, so I think I'm good to use one there. Yeah, that's, so much for me not wanting to get into it, huh? That really annoyed me. That really fucking upset me, what happened that night. But anyway, yeah, so I don't like giving waiters a hard time. Their job is stressful enough as is having to deal with people. So it was not at all necessary to take the, like, if they just, what I expected, or what I thought they were going to do was take my chicken off the bill, which I feel like that would have been an understandable thing to do as a response. But to take the whole meal off the bill was kind of insane. Anyway. Do I prefer Hazbin Hotel or Hotel Transylvania? I don't know that this is even remotely close. Hazbin Hotel rewired my brain chemistry. Hotel Transylvania I haven't thought about since I saw the third, well, actually I didn't even finish the third movie. I started watching it like halfway through, I'm like, this shit sucks, I'm not watching this. But yeah, I do not have any strong feelings about Hotel Transylvania. The first movie is solid from what I remember, but I don't care much for the series as a whole, whereas Hazbin Hotel, I, like, kind of had the same effect on me that, that the Owl House did, as far as rewiring my brain chemistry. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that little rant about some of the shit my family does. I just don't, the entitlement that some people have blows my fucking mind. And by the way, they already would have been in the wrong to speak to the waiter the way that they did, were it not for the fact that they broke the glass themselves, but the fact that they did just push it over the edge. Like, you spend so long getting on their asses for this unbelievable thing that no human could ever, no sensible human would ever make this awful mistake, and then you do exactly that. It's like, I couldn't write a better comedic punchline if I was trying, but it wasn't funny to me in the moment because I had to deal with it, all of it, as it was happening. Hazbin Hotel Digital Circus. I think Digital Circus is probably the objectively better made thing, but I vastly prefer Hazbin Hotel. It's just like, Digital Circus is something I really like, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode next month, but Hazbin Hotel has become a part of my soul. It's a part of my identity in the same way. Like, if you were to make a board of pieces of media that represent me as a person, obviously Toy Story is there, Halo is there, Ace Attorney is there, Owl House is there. I think Hazbin Hotel would also probably be there now as well. Hotel Transylvania 4 is a giant pile of shit. Yeah, I've heard. That's why I didn't want to watch it, because the third one was already not great, so I had no interest in watching the fourth one. Okay, this next one I remember being a giant pain in the ass to get the green stars, so we'll see how this goes. Dragon's Lair, yep, also Dragon's Lair. I mean, I have a Dragon's Lair arcade machine in my room, so yeah, I think that would probably fit the bill. That was like the biggest surprise of my life, where my parents got me for Christmas. They got me an actual Dragon's Lair arcade machine, which I thought, like, honestly, I thought it was gonna be like crazy expensive, and it's certainly not cheap, but I thought it was gonna be like thousands and thousands of dollars, which it wasn't. Like, I didn't know how much they cost, but it was, like, obviously that was the only thing that I got for Christmas. Understandably so, but I was asking, like, please don't tell me you spent an arm and a leg on this, and they didn't. It's still obviously not cheap, but considering how expensive I would have expected it to be, I was glad to see that they did not, like, blow the entire budget just to get that. But I am beyond grateful that they did get that, because I've never cried upon receiving a gift before, but that day I did. That was the most amazing thing that's ever happened from a gift-giving perspective. I couldn't fucking believe. I couldn't, because when I got there, because it was recent that it was like 2022, that Christmas when this happened. And when I got home for the holidays, I noticed that my parents were locked in the bedroom building something. I didn't know what they were building, because I was like, what? They said they were building my Christmas gift. I'm like, what the fuck can you possibly be building? Oh, great. I missed them both. Yeah, I hate this level for green stars. I didn't know what they could have possibly been building, and, well, I found out the answer. Do I think the Hazbin Hotel hate is undeserved? Yes. Here's the thing. I am, like, very critical of Hazbin Hotel. If you wanted to talk about the things that are wrong with the show, I could do it for a while. There's a lot of frustrations I have with seasons 1 and 2. But the unparalleled, it is erroneously overblown the degree to which the internet dogpiles on Hazbin Hotel as if it's one of the worst things ever created, which it most certainly, it is overall a very good show that is improving as it goes along, and I don't understand where its reputation comes from, and it's kind of annoying that it has it. There we go. We got the first one at least. I'm not gonna rate season 2 on a numerical scale because I don't do this anymore, but since I technically already did this last year, it kind of counts. Last year, what I said before I stopped giving number scores was I said I would give Hazbin Hotel like a 7 or a 7.5 out of 10. It's still a very, very good show. It just has a lot of critical problems that are holding it back from being great. And I'm hoping that as the series goes on and Amazon extends the leash for the creators, that they're able to kind of fix up some of these. Season 2 already fixes a lot of Season 1's problems. It just also has some new problems of its own. So I'm hoping that as the series goes on, they continue to hone their craft. Fuck the left path green star. True, but also I think the second one is worse. I think I have a harder time getting the second green star. Because, like, you're going so fast down that final turn. And controlling the ball is, you already don't really have that precise control when you're on this ball in the first place. So going after that second green star is just makes things even worse. Hey. I fell off. It's fine for people to hate Hazbin Hotel, but the extent some people go to is ridiculous. Well, I mean, I know full well that Hazbin Hotel is not for everyone. It is, logically speaking, I probably shouldn't like Hazbin Hotel. It has all the, like, there's a reason why everyone said that I'm gonna hate this show. It has all the hallmarks of things that I don't like, and you think I wouldn't like it, and yet I do. So, like, certain types of people are not going to respond very positively to this show, and I completely understand that. But there's a difference between it just having, like, appealing to a very niche audience, or a very specific type of people. There's a difference between that, and the extent to which people call it the worst thing that's ever happened to animation. And I find it massively over-exaggerated, massively overblown, and incredibly obnoxious to listen to, especially when the vast majority of criticism I've seen against the show is dealt in hyper bad faith with no interest in actually hearing things out and figuring out, like, it always seems to be gunning for the least charitable possible interpretation of the events and the characters. Did I ever play Mario 3D Land or 3D World? I played a bit of 3D World, but it was a long time ago and I barely remember it, so I would need to replay it to have a more definitive perspective on that game, but I never played 3D Land. I wanted to, but I never had a 3DS, so I couldn't, but I did eventually get a 3DS. My friend, I don't know if I told you this, but the way I got my 3DS, I didn't buy a 3DS, my friend just gave it to me in high school. He said he had a 3DS that he doesn't use anymore, and I said, does it work? He said, yeah. I said, can I have it? And he said, sure. Like, he didn't even charge me for it. He just gave it to me, which was pretty cool of him. So that's how I got my 3DS. But then, of course, when I got it, I mainly just used, I didn't actually, hold on. Nailed it. Okay, we're finally free. I just didn't actually use it to play any of the things that I wanted to play on it, like Super Mario 3D Land. But one of these days I'll get around to it. The only indie animation thing you've seen so far is Flow, which is a brilliant movie. Flow is a brilliant movie. I have the 4K Criterion Collection physical copy of Flow sitting on my shelf over there. I love, love, love Flow. I'm so happy that won the Oscar. Genuinely a euphoric moment for a non-mainstream studio movie to win that award. And it's not like The Wild Robot wouldn't have been deserving of it if it did win, because The Wild Robot is also a phenomenal movie. But I'm just happy on principle that an independent filmmaker was able to upstage all the other mainstream animation studios. That's so cool. And it sets a good precedent for the future. Ever seen Your Name? No. No. All the clips of Your Name in my Owl House video came from my friends who actually have seen and are familiar with Your Name. They pointed me in the direction of that. They sent me the clips that were necessary, and then I put them into the video. I have not actually seen it myself. Do I agree that Hazbin has too much foul language? No. Hell of a Boss, kind of. Yeah, I think the whole if VivziePop wrote this meme applies far more so to Hell of a Boss than it does to Hazbin Hotel, because Hell of a Boss really does feel like it's just every other word and kind of is extraneous and unnecessary at times. Hazbin, I don't really feel that at all. Like, it sticks out to me in Hell of a Boss way more than it does in Hazbin Hotel. Oop. Didn't mean to knock my mic there for a second. Sorry. Have you seen Smiling Friends? No, I have not. I have not seen Smiling Friends. Ever seen any anime movies? I've seen, first I've seen A Death. I've seen My Neighbor Totoro. I've seen Grave of the Fireflies. I've seen Spirited Away. Tale of Princess Kaguya. Unless I'm forgetting one, I think that's it. I'm certainly not someone who's gonna go out of my way to watch anime films or shows. Oh, wait, did I might have needed these clouds, actually, to get, that green star. Well, I guess we're gonna try to get it with only one cloud and see if this works. I think you need at least 2. So we're gonna see how this... Well, I guess we're dead anyway. Have I ever seen The Truman Show? Yeah. I started... So, my 8th grade English teacher showed The Truman Show to us in class. But because classes were only like 50 minutes long, we couldn't watch more than maybe 40, because we obviously had to take attendance at the start, and we had to pause the movie in time for everyone to get their stuff ready to go to the next class. So we only had like 40 minutes a day maximum to watch the movie. Which at the start was fine, but the further into the movie we got and the closer to the end we got, the more I wanted to watch the whole... Like, I became annoyed very quickly that I wasn't able to finish the whole thing in class. So I was telling my dad about, like, hey, I'm watching The Truman Show in class, and we can't finish it because we have to wait each day. And he's like, nah. We're gonna finish watching it tonight because he also loves The Truman Show. Oh, shit. Alright, well, I guess we're gonna have to hope that, never mind, we're gonna die. So I watched it that night and finished it well ahead of the rest of my class who were lagging behind and had to wait for multiple classes to get to the end. Isn't this level from Mario Sunshine? Yes. Yes, it is. This world has a lot of throwbacks to previous Mario games, mainly from Mario Galaxy 1. But it also has a Sunshine level thrown in there for good measure. Good morning, good evening, and good night. Close. It's good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That was actually... I loved The Truman Show so much that I actually... That was what I said to my classmates on our last day of school, because that was because it was 8th grade. We were graduating that year from middle school. So I did only need one cloud the whole time. Oh well, at least we got it. That's what I told my classmates that we were graduating that year. So that was my kind of farewell message to them. We didn't have in high school. Obviously, you have a senior quote that you put in the yearbook. We didn't have that in middle school, so. If we did, that would have been my senior quote, although I have a feeling that probably would have been other people's senior quotes, so maybe, although they probably would have told me, if I wasn't the first one, they probably would have told me, like, hey, someone else already used this quote, you gotta use something else. And since I was always first with those kinds of things, and everyone else was lazy and slow, I probably would have got it first, but still, I imagine other people probably would have wanted to use that as their senior quote that year, because we watched The Truman Show so recently. But, yeah. Alright, have a good day, Ava. Enjoy your break. Elton Barney the dinosaur? Apparently Barney actually is kind of hated amongst some people, which surprised me, because I always liked it a lot. When I was a kid. I never realized Barney had, like, people who hated it, but I liked it when I was a kid, and that's all there is to that. Favorite Mario partner, like Flood or Cappy? Cappy's probably the best in terms of the movement opportunities that are granted to you when you use Cappy, but as a partner, I think I would go for the Luma. Love the Luma. Alright, this one, I probably should be Luigi for this one. Because I probably should have... I don't think I can even... If this is going to be a nightmare to get. The triple jumping for this is... I need to get behind this next box. And I just got to try to match its pace, so I don't get crushed. 1, 2, 3. Got it! Okay. Ideally, you're supposed to get that in between, like, during a slow cycle, so you aren't at the risk of being crushed. But if you don't get it on the first try, then it's more trouble than it's worth to go back across the middle section to slow it down again, so you gotta be really, really quick with that triple jump. You beat the hunters in Infinite, started the Spire, glad to see them back. Yeah, enjoy fighting hunters while it lasts. I don't foresee that lasting very long, because, hunters can be a bit of a pain in Halo Infinite. Why am I not playing as the Green Mario? Why am I not playing as Luigi for the Green Stars? I don't know. I just stick with Mario. Because Luigi, like, some Green Stars are easier to get as Luigi, because, of course, he has a longer jump and a greater height. But at the same time, I find myself being screwed over by Luigi more often than I find myself being helped by him, because he also kind of skids to a stop. Like, he doesn't decelerate as quickly as Mario does, which can often get me killed. So I just prefer playing as Mario. But I do know that I probably would have an easier time getting some of these Green Stars if I did switch to Luigi. You barely got them to turn around. Yeah, that's the... I'll tell you this right now. Everything you think you know about fighting hunters, you should throw out the window for Halo Infinite, because the hunters almost never turn their backs to you. It's kind of part of their design that because you have a grapple shot and the thrusters, you will almost never get them to turn their back, to expose their weak point to you, which is really annoying. Do I think you can beat Infinite on Heroic if you've beaten 3 for ODST and reach on normal? Probably, yeah. Some of the bosses might give you a tough time. I would be less reluctant to say yes if you had beaten at least one of those other games on Heroic. But the good thing about Infinite is that if you try it on Heroic and you find that it's too hard, you can just exit out, turn the difficulty down to normal, and then keep playing it. It's not like other games where you have to restart the mission each time you change the difficulty. Infinite, you can change it whenever you want and just keep carrying on, which is pretty cool. So, I'd say try it and see how it goes. Because I do find Halo to be more enjoyable the higher the difficulty is. But, you know, I know that I'm not everyone agrees. Some people don't like playing on higher difficulties. But I'd say give it a go. And if you find yourself not having fun, then at least you can say you gave it a shot. And you can turn it down to normal, basically consequence-free. By the way, this is another galaxy that I'm not a big fan of when going after Green Stars. At least the fights are a little more interesting than Battle Belt because they are proper bosses, but I still don't like having to refight the bosses again and again and again, trying to go after the Green Stars. Looney Tunes or Tom and Jerry? Ooh, that's a great question. I think Tom and Jerry... I have more personal attachment to Tom and Jerry. I rewatched Tom and Jerry cartoons a lot as a kid. But also I rewatched a lot of Looney Tunes as a kid, but I think I probably have a stronger emotional attachment to Tom and Jerry, probably, but that is a really, really close call. Those are two great cartoons. That's a really, really tight race. But I think I'm going to give the slight edge to Tom and Jerry. I definitely watched more of that as a kid than I did watch Looney Tunes. But again, I still watched a shit ton of Looney Tunes. Did I ever use the new Xbox avatars? I don't believe so. I've always just kept my avatar the same as it. The avatar that I made on the 360 is the same avatar I've always had. I haven't made a new Xbox avatar since they adopted the new system. I've always just used the same one I've always had. What's my favorite Mickey Mouse character? It's gotta be Donald Duck. Big fan of Donald Duck. Do I like eating salad? No, I don't. I do not. I tried when I was a kid, because I noticed that my mom liked eating salad a lot. So, I wanted to try it, because like, she likes this, I want to try this as well. I took one bite of a salad, and I almost choked on it. I hated eating it so much. So it just felt like I was eating like grass and leaves. I really hated that, and I've not been willing to try it since then. What about broccoli? Broccoli I like. That broccoli is probably my favorite vegetable. Big fan of broccoli. Like that's the thing I always have to clarify when it comes to when expressing my distaste of salads. It's not because I'm anti-vegetables or I'm anti-healthy food or anything. In fact, most junk food doesn't really interest me. It's just I don't know, the textures of the salad I ate. My throat did not respond to it well at all. I very much hated it. But if you just give me like a plate of broccoli, I will eat it in 2 seconds. But a proper salad, no thanks. I'm good. I am good. I will pass. Do I like drinking soup? No. Soup is another thing that I just don't... Like, just give me the things in the soup outside of it. I don't need it to be dipped in a liquid. Well, I mean, not to open this can of worms, I guess, but if you consider cereal to be a soup, which some people do, then I guess yes, but I won't. If you consider that to be a soup, then the answer is yes, but if not, then no. So like whenever I was sick, the go-to answer for what to feed someone when they're sick is usually some kind of soup. But that never worked for me because I just always hated it. I would usually eat pancakes or scrambled eggs or something basic like that. Happy you're going out. Thanks for stopping by, Anonymous. Hope you have a good day as well. Would I rather rewatch the Tom and Jerry movie or the cartoons? Well, I don't know which Tom and Jerry movie you're referring to, but no matter which one it is, I don't know that there's a world where I would ever choose to watch one of the movies over the actual cartoon shorts. I haven't seen all the Tom and Jerry movies, but I don't think it has a great track. The two that I watched a lot as a kid were the Fast and the Furious or something. It's the racing one where they're like racing across the country. That one I remember liking as a kid. And then the Magic Ring I don't remember much about. I just know that I watched it a lot. But if you're talking about the most recent movie, that pile of garbage, obviously I'm not watching that over the cartoons. No thanks. Do I eat cereal with water? No, I just drink the milk out of the bowl. You mean things like chicken or vegetables or tomatoes or potato soup? So, like I said, I'll happily eat chicken or vegetables or potatoes, but not in soup form. I've tried. It's not something that appeals to me. Alright. This is it. The last green star of the game. We've finally made it. 2 hours and 40 minutes later, in just this stream alone, we have finally almost made it through the green stars. And then we can finally do the grand... Well, I mean, we also have to grind for 9999, but as you can see, we're almost there. We're almost there, so it's not going to take us that long to get up to 9999 stars. Thomas the Tank Engine or Lightning McQueen? Lightning McQueen. I was never a Thomas the Tank Engine fan. Even though I knew the theme song, and I sang it with my cousin. Like, we were on I think I mentioned this in the previous stream. I was on the swing set with my cousin, and for some reason, we just broke out into song and sang the Thomas the Tank Engine theme song by heart. I don't know why, because I never watched the show. I don't know why that was something that I knew, but I did. So I sang it with her as a bonding moment. Not any of the cousins I talked about earlier when describing the horrible restaurant story, by the way. But I watched Cars a lot as a kid. I played the Cars game a lot as a kid. Cars is obviously, as you may have been able to tell in my Cars on the Road video, is a series that means quite a bit to me. Whereas I have no emotional... I've noticed that, kind of to my surprise, a lot of people in my audience, at least on my Discord server, seem to have a lot of investment in the Thomas the Tank Engine series, which I would not have foreseen, but clearly it means a lot to a lot of people here. I am just not one of those people. I have not... I know I owned the DVD of the Magic Railroad movie as a kid, but I could tell you absolutely nothing about it at all. The main familiarity and exposure I had to the Thomas the Tank Engine series was a Mr. Nightmare creepypasta, which really affected me and got to me. But beyond that, it wasn't a show that I watched. I watched a lot of other preschool stuff, but that was not one of them. Uh-oh. Alright. Oh, well, there goes that. Am I a big Stranger Things fan? You could say that. You could indeed say that I am a big Stranger Things fan. It's one of my favorite shows. Even though I am highly critical of a lot of things about it, it is one of my favorite shows. It is something that I have stuck with basically since the beginning. So I am very excited and nervous to see it come to a conclusion this year. We're almost there. We're just a few days away from the beginning of the end, which is kind of crazy to think about, but we're almost there. Just a little bit further. Alright, here we go. Last green star of the game. It is done. We have finally collected all the green stars. Now all that's left to do is grind for the remaining star bits, do the Grandmaster Galaxy, and we will finally be finished with Super Mario Galaxy 2 on Switch. And we only need... We're not that far away from the requirement. We have, what, 9,409? Yeah. We only need a little less than 600, so 590 star bits. That shouldn't take more than a couple... We may only need, like, 2 runs of Melty Monster Galaxy, honestly. Two or 3, maybe. I don't know exactly what the average is for how many star bits you get per run, but we shouldn't need more than a couple. I did my best to try to mitigate how much grinding would be required in this stream, because I know grinding isn't very interesting to watch, but hopefully we shouldn't be here that long. Plans on seeing FNAF Movie 2? Yeah, I am going into that movie in good faith, hoping that they learn from the mistakes of the first movie, and that it will be a decided improvement. No guarantee that that's going to be the case. Hey, look! It's the Cosmic Rosalina from all the times that I died on this, going after... I died like 9 times going after all the star bits for grinding purposes. So naturally, Rosalina's here to say, there, baby need a hand with the level. Wow, I can't believe I missed. Yeah, I do plan on seeing... I don't have tickets yet, which I probably should get, but I don't currently have tickets, but I will get them at some... I do have plans on seeing FNAF Movie 2. That and Zootopia 2 are going to be the last movies I see in theaters this year, probably, unless I can get tickets to the Stranger Things finale. Well, I mean, it's not a movie, but it'll be a thing that I see in theaters, is the Stranger Things finale, assuming that I am able to get tickets for it, which I'm currently skeptical as to whether I'll be able to do it or not. That's another one to add to the counter. 10 grinding deaths. Do I like drinking milk? Well, I'm allergic to milk, but as far as soy milk, I enjoy drinking it with cereal, but other than that, I don't really go out of my way to do it. I like milkshakes, though. Strawberry milkshakes are something I enjoy quite a bit. That's usually, if I ever have any kind of surgery that requires me to not have any, like, hard food, strawberry milkshake is usually my go-to to make sure I have nutrients in my system. Am I lactose intolerant? Nope, that is different. That is a completely different thing from being allergic to milk. Oh, I can't believe that happened. Have you played Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games? Yes, I have. I've played the original Olympic Games, and then I've also played the Winter Olympic Games. I haven't played any of the other versions of the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games, but I have played those two. The Winter one was my favorite. The Winter one had a lot of really cool stuff, and it had a little story mode and everything. I didn't play much of the original Olympic Games, but I played considerably more of the Winter Olympic Games. Yeah, we're gonna get to 590 in no time. And I may as well throw myself off the cliff so that we can reset. Add another death to the counter. Favorite comedy movie? Well, I mean, technically speaking, Toy Story movies would all count as comedies, as would Aladdin. But even Back to the Future is a comedy. And I guess that depends on how you define, because those aren't exclusively comedies, but they are very much comedically driven. I guess something like Instant Family would probably be something I would consider for like a pure comedy angle, or Why Him? I mean, Jingle All the Way is the greatest comedy to ever be made. That is a riot of a movie. Home Alone's another one. This is kind of the problem with like answering genre-based questions. Is there's a lot of genre crossover. Like, Home Alone is a lot of different types of movies all at once. Back to the Future is also, it's a sci-fi movie, it's an adventure movie, it's a family movie, it's a comedy movie. It's a lot of different, it's wearing a lot of different hats all at once, which makes it hard to kind of put it into a narrow box. But those are all examples of comedically driven movies, which I enjoy quite a bit. What's Why Him about? It is about a guy. It's about a father who, well, a family goes to meet their daughter's boyfriend. It's like if you've seen Meet the Parents, it's essentially Meet the Parents from the dad's point of view. It stars Bryan Cranston and James Franco, and I do not know how to pronounce her name. Zoe Dutch. Leah Thompson's daughter. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name, but it's, she's also in that movie. It's a Christmas-themed movie, so, you know. Oh, it also has Keegan-Michael Key and Cedric the Entertainer. It's a pretty stacked cast, honestly. And it's a Christmas-themed movie, so you may as well, check it out this year. What am I doing? As I explained earlier, I am grinding for we don't have enough star bits to access the final challenge yet, so I have more than enough. Now I just need to actually beat the level. But I'm just grinding so that I could get access to that level. And then once we do that, we will only have 2 challenges left to complete, and then that will be a wrap on Super Mario Galaxy 2. Thoughts on Santa Claus with Tim Allen? I haven't seen it, so I don't have any. Favorite level in Battle for Bikini Bottom and Cosmic Shake. Well, Battle for Bikini Bottom, it's easily Kelp Forest. Not even close. I love Kelp Forest. It is quite easily my favorite level in that entire game. Now, for Cosmic Shake, that's tougher. I think it's probably either Pirate Goo Lagoon or the Medieval Sulfur Fields. I remember the game getting a lot better as it went along. I think I'd probably pick either the Pirate Goo Lagoon or the Medieval Sulfur Fields. What happens when you get 9999 star bits? Something nice, I bet. Well, let's go find out, Lubba. Let's go find out what happens. Also, I think that was only about, like, 5 minutes-ish of grinding, maybe 6. So, not too bad. We could have been there a lot longer. And that's what I was trying to prevent with today's stream. Is it time for perfect run? Not yet. We have to do the ultimate test first, and then we'll do the perfect run. Perfect run unlocks once you beat the ultimate test and get the common medal. Feels weird to see a level without the green borders for a change. It has been almost a year since I've... Wow, that's a great start. I did not jump properly. It has been about a year since I've last beaten the perfect run, so we'll see how long it takes to get through this. We definitely need to warm up with the ultimate test before we go into the perfect run territory. I also would like to get out of this section with Yoshi, because he makes the next section easier. Yep, easy. But I like a death count with a perfect run, sure thing. We're not quite there yet, but once we do the perfect run, we will happily count how many attempts it takes to get through. It doesn't usually take too many attempts for me to get through, but I'm still not going to do it first try, because it is a very hard level. Not like impossibly hard. Well, I guess it doesn't feel impossibly hard because I've beaten it many times before, but it certainly felt impossibly hard when I was a kid, I'll say that much. But I do not expect that it's gonna take us, like, an insane amount of time. That's a trick I learned a long time ago, is being able to land on that cloud flower as you create another cloud flower, or as you create a cloud, you land on the other cloud, and that allows you to save, allows you to get one extra, like, you create a cloud without actually wasting one of your clouds, if that makes sense. And I leave this section with 3 clouds, so that's cool. The goal is to enter this section with 3 cloud flowers so that you can use them as a buffer to get over these lasers of death. We'll see how well that works. And our survey says it worked out very well. You blinked and you're already here. Yep. We have arrived at the Grandmaster Galaxy. Not the perfect run just yet, but we are in the final galaxy. All right, let's see. Here's another trick I learned from this a long time ago. You can skip most of this by just kind of flinging yourself above all the obstacles and pulling yourself up above them like this and around them. So you don't have to worry about nailing the timing with accidentally getting hit by anything. And this is the one that I have no tricks for, because this part just sucks. This part's just awful. This is a pain in the ass. Trying to get past. The Hammer Bros are mostly fine. It's the final Boomerang Bros right at the end. Oh, well. I mean, that was a ground pound and not a long jump. That's what that was. Where's the checkpoint? It's in the last section, right? Yeah, it's the last section. Well, at least I don't have to... The Cloud Flower slightly affects your jumping, so at least I don't have to deal with that for the upcoming sections. Yeah, that's the section that's gonna screw me over the most. when we're going for the perfect run is that final gauntlet of Boomerang Bros. The hardest part of the Polestar section isn't the Polestar, but the lasers before it. True. Actually true. Once you get to the Polestars, it's very, very... well, it is perfectly manageable as long as you know the tricks. But those lasers can be kind of a pain. I'd like you to give me a coin, please. Oh, wait, do they not? Oh, they don't drop coins, they only drop star bits. Unfortunate. I really could use a coin right about now. Oh, I didn't grab the ledge. The perfect run is this level, you have to do it perfectly. Yes. You have to, the perfect run is just to this level, but you only get one shot. You get no checkpoints, and you have one health point. I think judging by how long we've already spent on the ultimate tests, not a great indication of how long it's going to take us to get to the perfect run. But we shall see. You don't need to kill all of them? No, you only need to kill the... Oh, I'm sorry to curse you with this knowledge, Gugonic, but you only need to kill the 3 Boomerang Bros at the end. The Hammer Bros you can ignore. And I guess it depends on how you play, but I find it easier to ignore them. Like, trying to engage in combat with them, I find to be more trouble than it's worth. So I just kind of ignore all the hammers, if I can. But the only ones that are required to get the final launch star to spawn are these 3 Boomerang Bros at the end. Fortunately, the Boomerang Bros, you can crouch underneath their boomerangs and they can't hit you. So that's a neat trick. That makes things a little easier. Also, you can spin into the boomerangs. I'm very sorry to curse you with this knowledge, Gugonic. You lost so many times from trying to kill every Hammer Bro when you first played. Oh yeah, I understand why one might think that, because it seems like there's nowhere to go. Like, there's no exit point, there's no launch star, there's no anything, there's no power star. So it kind of seems like you have to kill them all, but yeah, you don't. It's just those final 3 that you need to kill. I deeply apologize to anyone who believed otherwise and wasted countless hours on trying to... I can't even imagine how painful it would be to have to meticulously kill every single one of them. You saw a video that someone got killed by one of the boomerangs after they killed all the Boomerang Bros. That is a major oof moment right there. That sucks. That's probably happened to me at some point when doing the perfect run. But even if it hasn't, there have definitely at least been comparable examples in other games where you kill the enemy itself. Oh no, you know what? It's like in Halo, where you kill an enemy, but their grenade, like a grenade they threw before they died, still kills you. Oh, the same thing, I swear to God. There's something, like the jump button just doesn't register sometimes when I'm on Yoshi. It just doesn't. This is why I try to not have to jump or flutter jump at any point in this section, because it just doesn't respond sometimes. If I can do this entirely by Indiana Jones swinging my way through it, I can. Or I try to, because I swear, my mileage varies a lot when it comes to actually getting the flutter jump to trigger. Yeah, it's very comparable to Halo, where you kill the enemy, but then their grenade finishes you off. See, it's satisfying when you do that to other people. Like when you die in multiplayer, but your grenade... They call that a kill from the grave. But not quite as cool when it happens to you. You always take out the Hammer Bros near the Boomerang Bros at the end because they can still hit you. I understand the logic behind why one would want to take them out. My thing is just that the less enemies I have to fight, the better. Because the more enemies I have to fight, the more risk I am of, you know, dying at their hand. So I just kind of... I try to avoid it if at all possible. But I understand why one would want to try to do that. Oh, that was alarmingly close. Almost ran right into the electric fence there. Nailed it. Oh, that was close. That was so close. This section can be really hard if you don't have the 3 clouds, but if you have the 3 clouds, it's manageable. As long as you space out the clouds properly, which I did not do this time. I did not space them out properly this time, so I'm going to try to get through this section without using a cloud. Yeah, okay, we made it. And then I can save the final cloud for right here, and get straight to the finish line. Now we try not to die by the laser. Up, up, and away. That sure was a music transition. What the... We just jumped right from... The music... That was weird. The music cut straight from Gusty Garden Galaxy to Sky Station and then back to the final music track here. Okay, this guy, if that was the guy you... Oh, shit. If that was the guy you meant, then yeah, that guy... That guy I do take out, but everyone else around him I don't really take out. It's more trouble than it's worth to me. Oof. You like my Halo rant, so you need to finish the video. It seems like the people who have watched it have liked it, which makes me feel good. However, it's not that many people have watched it, so it's still kind of a question of, sure, it seems like people like what I made, but is it worth dedicating time to finishing something that not a whole lot of my audience is probably going to be interested in seeing? I don't know. I'm still undecided. Because it's not like it would be an insignificant amount of time that's left. There's still a good chunk of work that's left to do on that video. Unless, like, I could just loop gameplay footage in the background or something and have that be the visuals, but I kind of have set a standard for myself to where that's not the kind of editing that I do. So I can't really get away with any kind of lazy shortcuts like that. I kind of have to just commit to the full editing treatment that I give to any of my videos. But the thing with the Halo video is that it's harder to do that when I'm not critiquing a movie or a show, because most of video games is gameplay and not cutscenes, at least in the case of Halo. So I don't really have as much material to work with from a visual perspective. And sometimes it just is... It's hard figuring out what to play for depending on what topic I'm discussing. So it's something that I was really struggling with that a lot when I was originally editing that chunk of the Halo video. So I would still need to figure out a lot of that. One of my thoughts on Comet Evolved Anniversary for Xbox 360, it's terrible. Not only is it aesthetically completely incompatible with the original game, but it has like blatant geometry errors that make it almost unplayable at times. And you'll be standing, you'll have a clean sniper shot. If you're playing with remastered graphics, that is. You'll have a clean sniper shot at an enemy, and then you'll shoot and nothing will happen. And the reason why nothing happens is because the geometry of the levels is not using the new graphics, it's using the old graphics. And the old graphics, what you thought was a clean pocket of air was actually a giant tree in front of you that just the tree is narrower on remastered graphics than it is in old graphics. So, and this also means that sometimes platforms will be longer in old graphics than they are on new graphics. So you'll be walking over air sometimes, and it's really, really annoying. And specifically on the 360 version, the sniper reticle was almost as big as the pistol reticle, which when you're trying to nail precise headshots with a sniper rifle, not really a great thing. I think like they fixed that for MCC, thankfully, but I just don't know how that happened. I don't know if it was a conscious choice or a mistake, but either way, I do not know how that got through any level of playtesting. I don't know how anyone saw that and thought, yeah, this is good. Having a reticle for the sniper be exactly the same size as, or at least almost as big as the pistol, that'll go over well. Yeah, not a great CE Anniversary was not a great first impression of a post-Bungie Halo world. I say post-Bungie because 343 didn't make Commonwealth Anniversary. They published it, they promoted it, but they didn't make it. The people who the people who made it were Saber Interactive. So it's not that's not on 343. You can blame 343 for MCC being a broken nightmare, but the original Commonwealth Anniversary, that falls on Saber Interactive. That was not the fault of 343. Most other things were. Most other things that went wrong with Halo in the last decade and a half are either 343's fault or Microsoft's fault, but that one was Saber Interactive. Would I be sad if the Halo remake is worse than the Halo show? That literally can't be possible because they're not touching the story at all. And even if every problem in the Halo remake is untouched from what we saw during the gameplay reveal and also gets worse, the thing that makes the Halo show so bad, apart from just being a painfully boring show by itself and then an offensively unwatchable disaster, that wasn't what I intended to do there, so now we're gonna do this, is just that it treats the characters with such intense disrespect. But, you know, Halo Studios have made it abundantly clear that they are not at all interested in changing the story of Combat Evolved, which is not a good thing, by the way, because there are areas of improvement in Combat. Like, there are, if you were to rewrite Halo Combat Evolved, there's definitely room for improvement, and I understand the reasoning behind not wanting to change the story of one of the most influential and important video games ever made, but just because it was influential and really well received doesn't mean that it's bulletproof. Doesn't mean it should literally never be changed in any way whatsoever. There are absolutely areas in which that game could be improved, specifically from a narrative perspective. Shit. The game is the story is mainly focused on setting up the world more so than it is on telling a super compelling, like, Halo 2 is when they really started to deep dip into interesting character stuff with the Arbiter, and then obviously Halo 4 takes things much further with Chief and Cortana's relationship. But the story itself is pretty bare bones, so you could easily flesh it out. And there's also just some oversights as far as, like, there's elements of the story that are, well, can I not? Okay, guess we're not gonna do a sideways flutter jump. Alright, fuck you then. We're going without Yoshi. There's elements of the story that are clearly only the way that they are because of levels that got cut. And if Bungie had more time, they wouldn't have written it that way. Which sometimes working under creative constraints can lead to really creative solutions, but sometimes it leads to really stupid stuff like, oh, we need to find the captain, but we're all the way on the other side of the ring. What should we do? Well, apparently you can teleport anywhere on the ring you want, but also we should only ever do this once, and we're gonna do it by pulling something from your suit. Which is like, if you actually listen to what Cortana says there, it's total nonsense. It's only there because they need a way to get you from the control room area to back on Truth and Reconciliation where Captain Keyes is being held, and they didn't have a way to do it, so they just teleported in there. And it's you know, they make it funny because they play it off with a bit of a joke when Chief gets teleported onto the ship and he sees upside down. The idea being, like, they don't understand how the teleportation works and they're kind of new at it. It's kind of a miracle it worked at all, but, you know, it still doesn't make it any less lazy as a means of getting your character from one place to another. So that kind of stuff, I was really hoping that if they were going to remake Comet Evolved, they would be willing to change some of those things, but they are not. See, this is what really annoys me, is that they're like, Comet Evolved is a masterpiece of a game, 10 out of 10, Halo wouldn't be what it is without it, we love the game so much, it's perfect in every way, also, we're evolving the experience and changing it moving forward. To modernize it for people, to make it better. I mean, they didn't explicitly say make it better, but that's kind of the implication when you say that you need to evolve the experience, like, how exactly, what do you think is, why do you think you need to evolve something that you have elsewhere said is perfect? Why, just be honest with me. Don't lie to my face and say, don't in the same breath tell me this game is perfect with a perfect story and perfect characters and perfect, they specifically said perfect gameplay. Don't tell me all that and then say you're changing, like, they don't have a health pack system. They don't have a health pack system. Fundamentally, that's one of the core things about Comet Evolved that sets it apart from most of the other Halo games, is that it has a health pack system. But there is no health pack system. You have a health bar, but it automatically regenerates. Which that's not Comet Evolved. That is not Comet Evolved. You don't have an automatically regenerating, it defeats the whole point of that game mechanically, and then narratively speaking, it's supposed to tie into the game's narrative where you're essentially doing guerrilla warfare the whole time. You don't have the support of the UNSC backing you up while you're fighting against the Covenant. It's just a scrappy group of Marines that crash landed on the strange alien ring world, and you're just trying to scrounge together any resources you possibly can in order to survive and stay one jump ahead of the Covenant. So that the idea of having to always scrounge for health packs fits that very nicely. So just removing it and having it be that your health regenerates constantly, not great, not a fan. And it seems like power-ups might have been removed as well, which really sucks. Because, like, there's supposed to be overshields at specific places of Silent Cartographer, and there just aren't any. Or at least there weren't any in the clips they showed. Maybe they'll be there in the... I think someone posted a screenshot of the options menu. I fucking hate the jump button, just doesn't work sometimes. The screenshot of the options menu, where one of the options in the controls was to... like, was for power-ups and equipment. And so that indicates that they are going to be in the game, but in what capacity are they going to be in the game? Because there's a lot of overshields on Silent Cartographer. There's 3 different spots in the demo where there should have been overshields, and they weren't at any of them. So if they aren't going to be there, then where the hell are they going to be? I don't know. I assumed when I didn't see any power-ups there that this was just them being like, well, power-ups are an outdated video game mechanic. This isn't like Mario. You don't grab a mushroom and get more powerful. That's a silly thing of 2001. We don't use power-ups anymore. So it's like, wait, but I thought it was the perfect game. I thought, why, if it's the perfect game, then why exactly did you remove the tree? There's a tree on Silent Cartographer that's supposed to prevent you from being able to take a warthog into the hunter section so that you don't trivialize the encounter. But they removed that tree. I don't know why they removed that tree, because like, it was really cathartic seeing Jamie Grease. I think it's Jamie Griezmann is how you pronounce it. One of the original designers in Comet Evolved. He watched that reveal, and he posted a tweet saying, like, I put that tree there on purpose. I didn't accidentally put that there. And they've just removed it. Like, I didn't want you to be able to take the warthog up to the hunters. And it's like, oh, yeah. So, hey, when original Bungie developers are annoyed at the decisions you've made for a remake of their game, at what point does that give you pause to be like, okay, maybe we might have fucked up somewhere along the way? Maybe... And then don't even get me started on what they're doing to the voices. Like, Jen Taylor's performance as Cortana... She sounds too bubbly, because they had her her and Steve, they had them record all their lines, apparently, for this remake, which I'm okay with Steve Downes re-recording his lines, because he himself has even admitted that he kind of sounds like he has a cold in the first Halo game when he's recording it. He doesn't really sound like fully Master Chief yet. But Jen Taylor... like, if you want to re-record, the weird thing to me is that they're recording specifically Jen Taylor and Steve Downes and literally nobody else. All the other lines of dialogue are exactly the same, which one stands out because it's clearly, here's all, like, it's abundantly obvious. Here are all the new lines. They sound much newer and they don't really fit with the tone of the other lines that have been around for 25 years. But then also, they've directed her differently. Cortana in the original game was, by design, not supposed to be like every other AI, where she either sounded like this, and I am your AI companion, and I am here to help you with all of your tasks, or the super peppy, optimistic person who's always here to help you with whatever you need. She deliberately did not sound like either of those. She was snarky, she was sarcastic, she was witty, and that set her apart from every other artificial intelligence in video games, or just in media in general at the time. That's why people liked Cortana, is that she had an attitude, she had sass, she wasn't just a copy and paste carbon copy of every other AI that's ever been existed in these forms, of, specifically sci-fi stories especially. But in the remake, all of her new lines just sound like the Weapon from Halo Infinite. And I like the Weapon from Halo Infinite a whole lot. She's really, like, her performance, Jen Taylor's performance in Halo Infinite as both Cortana and the Weapon is fantastic. God damn it. And it's great in the context of that story. But you shouldn't be making Cortana, like, it's, what makes her performance in Halo Infinite so great is the fact that she's able to portray 3 completely different characters. She's voicing all of them. You can tell she's voicing all of them, but they all sound completely different from each other. But now, Cortana essentially sounds no different than the Weapon does in Halo Infinite, which is like the polar opposite point, which is that the Weapon is not Cortana. That's the whole point of that game, is that even though she looks like Cortana and is voiced by the same person and is a copy of Cortana, she isn't Cortana. That's the whole point. So making Cortana just sound like the Weapon is embarrassing. And then the whole, just the visual aesthetic of the remake just is gone. Like, the Halo had a very clear artistic style in the original game, and I don't see any. It just looks like the same generic, standard Unreal Engine 5 hyper-realistic mush. Which, I mentioned this a little bit in the Toy Story 1 video yesterday, but I am so tired of hyper-realism. I don't care. I stopped being impressed by that a long-ass time ago. I care way more about preserving a game's original artistic direction and vision, and I don't see any of that in Campaign Evolved. Campaign Evolved! Which is such a dumb shit fucking name. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just a dumb shit fucking name. I hate it so much. Especially... the Forerunner aesthetics are so boring in Campaign Evolved. It's all just these sleek, modern, hyper-polished, advanced buildings, which Forerunner stuff is old. It is designed to be old. There was environmental storytelling in the original game that specifically pointed to the Forerunner stuff being there for a long time. There was erosion. There was wear and tear. It felt like you were walking into buildings that hadn't been touched for millennia. But in Campaign Evolved, it feels like everything's just been recently polished up by Sentinels minutes before you arrived. Which is a problem that Combat Evolved Anniversary also had, by the way. But for some reason, it's not getting the same level of pushback in Campaign Evolved that it did in Combat Evolved Anniversary, and it's really, really annoying. I don't know why. And then even just the enemies themselves, they don't look like the elites are clearly just copy-pasted from Halo Infinite. The Kneeler is just clearly copy-pasted from Halo Infinite. The assault rifle, I don't know what the assault rifle looks like. It doesn't look like anything from any of the other games, but it certainly doesn't look like the assault rifle from Combat Evolved. And it doesn't play like it either. The only game in the entire Halo series that has a 60-round assault rifle is Combat Evolved. That is the one thing, like, that is Combat Evolved's alone to have. No other game in the series can claim to have that. So, of course, when remaking Campaign Evolved, logically, the first thing to do is you gotta remove the 60-round magazine and replace it with the same bog-standard 32-round magazine that every other Halo game has. Or, like, 32 or 30, it depends on what game it is. It's either 32 or 36, depending on which game you're playing. But that's still, basically half of the original ammo capacity. Which is so, I don't understand. If you want to make a new game, then just make a new game with your own original artwork or whatever. Don't just copy and paste things from other games. If you're going to remake Combat Evolved, then you should be trying to honor the original vision of Combat Evolved. Like, whoop-de-doo, they're adding energy swords, and they're adding Fjord guns, woohoo, and they're adding a bunch of other weapons that were in other Halo games but weren't in Combat Evolved. Zippity-fucking-doo-dah. This, like, I can count on one hand the amount of things about the Campaign Evolved remake that I can actually point at and go, okay, that's a good change. That is to the benefit of this game that you have made this change. I'm glad you did it. The rest of it, I am... And again, so one of the other reasons why I kind of lost motivation to make the Campaign Evolved remake, or sorry, the Campaign Evolved video, partly it's because I just knew that I literally only finished the Toy Story 1 love letter the night before you all saw it. It was more down to the wire than any video I've ever made. Well, I guess that's not technically true. The Toy Story 3 Part 3, I think, is the most down to the wire I've ever come, because I literally pulled like, my computer was shitting itself. It was literally not able to render the video. My computer just kept hard crashing each time I tried to render it. So, and I was doing it the night before the final deadline for when I needed to upload it to YouTube's systems so I could get review, because it takes 7 days to review a copyright appeal, and I knew it was going to get claimed because it always had gotten claimed before. So I needed that 7-day window in order to be able to meet my original release date that I promised at the end of Part 2. And it was like, that's the reason why it ended up getting delayed by an hour. Instead of going up at 11 a.m., it ended up going up at 12 p.m. because I literally was up all night trying to get it to render properly, and it just never ever did. My computer just kept shitting itself each and every time I tried. So I just ended up having to... Holy shit. Okay, finally. Finally, I ended up just staying up all night, brute forcing it again and again and again until it eventually worked. So that is the closest I've ever come to the wire as far as getting a video through. But the second closest was the Toy Story 1 love letter. So if I had actually saw the Campaign Evolved remake project through to the end, I literally would not have been able to finish the Toy Story 1 love letter in time. But another reason why I stopped is just because I knew that there was a distinct possibility that all the problems I had were going to get fixed in the remake, so I didn't want to have to deal with people being like, oh, you're being too critical, they're gonna change it, I'm sure it's gonna get better, they're open to feedback, and all of that is true. They are open to feedback, and I am hopeful that some of it is going to change. So, you know, that's part of why I decided to put the brakes on it for a bit. Anyway, let's talk to Rosalina. So you were the one who collected all the scattered stars. I want to thank you. Your deeds will live on in the memory of the cosmos. May the stars shine down on you. And that is Galaxy 2 finished 100%. You can force the Warthog through the tree in the original game, and it does make the Hunter section easy to tree's employment. Yeah, so that's one counter-argument people were making to the idea of the tree being gone. It's like, oh, well, you could always force the Warthog past the tree. And I'm like, yeah, you could force the Warthog past the tree. That's an exploit in the level design. It was not intended for you to... Like, the solution to that problem is to make the tree bigger, or to add other obstacles that prevent the Warthog from getting through. The solution is not, oh, people were forcing the Warthog through? Well then, fuck it! Pull out the tree, chop it down, chuck it into the ocean. Actually, no, you can't chuck it into the ocean, because it's an invisible barrier now. That was another thing with the original Combat Evolved, is that you could just drive anywhere you wanted around the island. You could even drive out into the ocean and do donuts in the water. In the remake, you can't. There's an invisible barrier that prevents you from driving into the ocean, because, excuse me, sorry, you just can't have fun. I guess. Fun is not allowed in the Campaign Evolved remake. Play the game, play the way we want you to, or die. What's my opinion on the TV series Suits? Suits is an absolute masterpiece. It is one of the best shows I've seen in my life. However, it does decay after Season 6. Season 7 is still solid, but not as good the seasons before that point. Season 8 is a disaster, and Season 9 is still heavily flawed, but it is rescued by the final few episodes being absolutely incredible, and it goes out on a high note. But in totality, it is a phenomenal show that I highly recommend to all of you if you haven't seen it yet. Well, all your hard work has brought the Lady of the Shooting Stars right to our own little ship. Feels like forever since we've seen each other, but she hasn't changed.
Mario, a letter of congratulations has arrived. I'll read it for you. You deserve a congratulations of cosmic proportions for collecting all the stars and playing to the very end. Thank you. You are truly a master of galaxies.
Super Mario Galaxy 2... Oh, that was... I accidentally gave the Nintendo staff a Toad voice. Oops. Oops. Galaxy 1 Luigi next. Fuck you. What are my thoughts on Malcolm in the Middle? My thoughts are that I haven't seen it. Okay, and that officially brings us to the end of our journey with Super Mario Galaxy 2. I am so happy they finally brought this game to Switch. I don't care about the Galaxy movie, but I'm just... If only so that this game could exist on Switch, I'm glad that it's being made. And the final death count is 103 minus 13 because I died 13 times when grinding. So, 90 deaths in total for this playthrough. I think my first playthrough of the game was a final death count of over 1,000. So, and honestly, like, most of the deaths come from going after green stars. And I think if I added up the green star deaths compared to normal deaths, I think it's probably more lopsided to green stars than normal deaths, but... Yeah. You also heard they added a storybook in this version of the game. They sure did, and I'm glad they did. What Halo game do you need? I guess I'd start with Master Chief Collection. Start with Master Chief Collection. It'll probably go on sale sometime soon, because the Steam Winter Holiday sale is right around the corner. Start with the Master Chief Collection, play Halo CE first, then 2, then 3, then ODST, then Reach, then 4. And if you liked all... Because you get... At full price, you get 6 great games for the price of... for $40. And you're probably going to get it for even less than that because it goes on sale a lot. And if you like all those games, you can play Halo Infinite. There's also the Halo Wars spin-off games. But I'd say just start with Master Chief Collection and see how you like it from there. One of my favorite new moves in the Cosmic Shake between the Karate Kick, the Bubble Toss, Bubble Surfboard, Hook Swing, and Reef Blower. Probably, I'm always a sucker for any kind of hook swinging mechanic. It's $10 right now. Oh, is it? Oh, I guess that makes... Because Infinite's on sale, so I guess it would make sense if MC... Okay, so apparently MCC is $10 right now, in which case that is the absolute steal of a lifetime. You get 6 incredible games for $10. That is the biggest no-brainer in the history of no-brainers. If you are at all contemplating getting into the Halo series, now's a great time to do it. Especially because I'm probably going to be covering Halo next year. I don't know when, because I still got a lot of other stuff to take care of. Toy Story 5 is going to be a giant pain in my ass, I'm sure. But I do intend to start making actual Halo videos at some point next year. So, if you want to do a little bit of prep work, you can get the MCC right now on Steam for $10. And I promise you won't regret it. You wish they added the ability to play with those power-ups you collect in the hub world. Yeah, that'd be fun, because they have them all sitting on Starship Mario. They're just all encased in glass, so you can't actually use them. It'd be kind of cool if you could play around with them a little bit. Instead of just... Because they put the Cloud Flower... The Cloud Flower is there, but none of the other ones. Like, you can actually access the Cloud Flower at the top of Starship Mario, but nothing else. Yoshi's there, which is cool. I'm glad Yoshi's there. The only downside to this version of the game is they removed the Bank Toad. Yeah, they took Bank Toad out back and fucking shot him in the head. They assassinated him. Which is actually a tragedy. Especially because it makes grinding worse, because originally you could use Bank Toad to, you know, stock up star bits with interests and mitigate the grinding you need to do. But they removed they removed Bank Toad, but didn't remove the star bit grinding requirement, which is just confusing. Do I think Halo Infinite's campaign gets way too much hate? Yes, absolutely. If Avengers Doomsday actually sucks, will I make a video on it? Probably not. I'm not interested. I'm not actually invested in Marvel anymore. I didn't see Fantastic Four. I don't even know what's coming out from Marvel in the foreseeable future, honestly. I'll probably see the new Spider-Man movie because I like Tom Holland and Zendaya, and I like most of Tom Holland's MCU stuff. But I'm not keeping up with all of the MCU stuff. I'm expecting Avengers Doomsday to be a giant waste of everyone's time. So, nah, I'm good. Who is my favorite fictional character? I think it's gotta be Woody. As much as I could deliberate that with other characters, I think it has to be Woody. Amiibos is supposed to replace the bank. Yeah, and, you know, it is technically an alternative because you can tap Amiibos in and grind starbits that way, but I feel like that's much less efficient than just being able to have Bank Toad hold on to starbits for you and then you, like, accumulate interest over time. Plus, you know, you could even argue it as being an educational thing for kids playing the game. It's like, hey, this is how banks work. This is how interest works. I don't know. I don't think it was worth assassinating Bank Toad so Amiibo Toad could live. Your favorite fictional character is Rosalina? You know, I couldn't tell that, Rosalina Bob. I don't think I ever could have discerned that. That caught me by surprise, I gotta be honest. Thoughts on Glitch Show? I've seen Digital Circus, which is great. I've seen the first 3 episodes of Murder Drones, which I'm not really a fan of. I've seen the pilot of Knights of Guinevere, which is amazing, and I really hope that they get greenlit for a full season. I haven't seen Meta Runner, and I haven't seen the Gaslight District pilot. Thoughts on the old guy and the Pixar chess short being in Toy Story 2? A creative reuse of resources given the absurd time constraints under which Toy Story 2 was made that also acts as a nice little Easter egg for Pixar fans. Alright, well, this is fun. I'm glad I got to revisit the Galaxy games live on stream with all of you. Had a good time chatting about stuff. Had a good time playing, had a good time talking, had a good time relaxing. But for the time being, I believe I am going to back down for today. We're gonna see the reward screenshot yet. Oh, I guess I can. How do I access that? Where here, right? Woohoo! We did it. We did it. Louis Simos, we did it. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and call things off. If you have any last minute questions to ask, speak now, forever hold your peace. But I'm getting ready to wind down today. Gotta go eat something, and then I'm going to probably do nothing the whole rest of the day, and just recuperate after stressing myself out on getting the Toy Story 1 video finished. I'm interested in Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. Honestly, it could be fun. If Toy Story 5 is to be garbage, would I still want a Toy Story 6 if it had a high chance of being good? Well, I mean, the answer is kind of baked into the question. If something has a high chance of being good, then of course you would want it. But if Toy Story 5 is also garbage, that's going to severely impact my ability to believe that Pixar is capable of making a good Toy Story movie. If after 3 times in a row they shit the bed, I don't know, that's going to be hard to believe in. Favorite scene from each Ice Age movie? Oh, goodness. I honestly, I don't know. I would need to think about that question a lot more to give you a proper answer. But I can tell you that my favorite scene from Continental Drift is the final battle, where everyone comes together. They pay off the Precious setup. The big sword duel between Manny and Guts is awesome. Everyone plays a hand. It's a really fun battle. Thoughts on Dora the Explorer? I liked it a lot as a kid. I had a grand time watching Dora the Explorer. I found it to be a very good show aimed at preschoolers. How would I react if Wreck-It Ralph 3 was just Ralph running and screaming in a white background for 90 minutes and nothing else happens? Well, uh, less painful than Ralph Breaks the Internet, I guess. Sounds less painful. Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, or Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I didn't grow up watching Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield, so I'm biased towards Tom Holland. Am I going to rewatch Utopia 1 before Thursday despite seeing it 2 months ago? Yeah, probably. I'll probably give it another rewatch. I usually like to rewatch things, even if I remember even though I've seen the Toy Story movies more times than I can count, but I'm still gonna rewatch them before Toy Story 5 just for fun. So I'll do the same thing for Zootopia. And I will probably also do the same thing with the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, just to get myself up to speed, because I really have tried my best to purge a lot of that from my memory. Have I ever watched Elf? No, I have not. Do I ever watch YouTube poos in my free time? No, not really my thing. Including Toy Story 4. Remains to be seen. And I think on that note, we're going to go ahead and call things off for today. Thank you for spending your Sunday with me. Hopefully you had a good time hanging out and watching the stream and chatting about a bunch of stuff. I certainly did. Oh, it's been a few weeks since we last streamed Galaxy 2 because I've been heads down working on the Toy Story 1 video for the whole time, but now I can breathe a sigh of relief. I can actually relax, hang out, and hopefully I will continue being able to relax for the next month or two. Next time, we'll be starting up Minecraft Story Mode Season 2. I don't know if I'm going to stream it next weekend. I probably will, but I'm not 100% sure. Because, obviously, Thanksgiving is this week, so I don't know what my plans are going to be like yet as far as whether I'll be somewhere I actually am capable of streaming things. But if I am, I will definitely stream Season 2, or at least start streaming Season 2 next weekend. If not, then we'll do it in December. And yeah, that's the next thing I'll stream is Minecraft Story Mode Season 2. Okay, thank you all so much for hanging out today. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving break, and I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving dinner with your family. If not, I hope you have a good rest of your week anyway, and I hope to see you all soon for whatever it is you decide to watch next. Have a good day, everybody.